Chapter 22. The school doctor first looked down on Ning Shu's IQ, then slowly took out a bomb from who knows where. This bomb looks familiar, isn't this the bomb in the passageway? When did the school doctor carry it with him? Didn't he dismantle it before? Why is it back together now? The timer on the bomb jumped, and what made Ning Shu collapse was that there was only 1 minute left. Ning Shu stared at the school doctor dumbfoundedly. This guy is really a lunatic. No wonder people call him a lunatic. Mo Lingxuan looked at the bomb in the school doctor's hand. Wasn't this the bomb he purposely threw in the passageway? The school doctor's mouth curved into a smile, and the way he held the bomb in his hand was like holding an apple. He walked in front of Mo Lingxuan and Ling Xue, and actually reached out his hand to touch Ling Xue's face. In such a situation, he was still blinded by lust. Damn, Ning Shu took 2 steps back and shouted at the school doctor, "Uncle, let's run first." The school doctor completely ignored Ning Shu and touched Ling Xue's face. His eyes were focused, and his face had a kind of absolute focus, a kind of focus of worship. Ling Xue felt that hand on her face, and it felt like a poisonous snake slithering on her skin, causing goosebumps to appear on Ling Xue's skin. Mo Lingxuan had never met such a person who wasn't afraid of death. He actually touched his woman in front of him, and it was a woman he admired. Mo Lingxuan pointed the gun at the school doctor's head, but this lunatic actually hugged Ling Xue tightly and said nonchalantly, "I'm willing to be blown up together with her." Ning Shu. My dear mother, Ning Shu simply wanted to kneel down to this lecherous uncle. This guy is simply crazy. Hearing the ticking sound of the bomb, Ning Shu's heart almost went crazy. Uncle, stop touching. What should we do now? Ling Xue's mood was even worse than Ning Shu's. She was hugged by this ant-like man. She didn't know where this damned man came from, but he kept harassing her. If it wasn't for her ability, she would have been caught by this man. Fuck, what was the situation now? Ling Xue felt that there was a cold knife on her back. The cold feeling made her feel very uncomfortable. This ant actually dared to point a knife at her. Unforgivable, Ling Xue coldly asked, "What are you trying to do?" The school doctor said, "Actually, I don't mean anything. I said that I need you. Do you want to come with me?" Ning Shu almost cried. Did the uncle not know what was going on? He didn't even know who to point his gun at. If it was possible, Ning Shu really wanted to blow up the uncle's head because he didn't know what was going on. Mo Lingxuan coldly pointed at the school doctor. The school doctor was carrying Ling Xue. Ning Shu shouted, "Didn't you guys notice the bomb? The bomb is about to explode." Could this kind of emotional entanglement make people forget about life and death? The school doctor nonchalantly looked at the bomb in his hand. He seemed to be very surprised. "Aya, it's really going to explode." Mo Lingxuan, Ling Xue, Ning Shu. Ling Xue was simply about to go crazy. She couldn't reason with such a lunatic. She could only say, "How about this, everyone throw away their guns." "You throw the bomb too. Then all of you throw away your guns," the school doctor slowly said. He wasn't anxious at all. It was said that unreasonable people were afraid of those who didn't care about their lives. Mo Lingxuan had been in the underworld for so long, but he had never seen such a person. There was definitely something wrong with his brain. Mo Lingxuan coldly looked at Ning Shu and said, "You and I throw it at the same time." The current situation was really strange. When Ning Shu threw away his gun, he quickly fell to the ground and a bullet brushed past him. Fuck, he actually used underhanded methods. Ning Shu cursed in his heart. Mo Lingxuan first fired at Ning Shu before throwing away his gun. If it wasn't for Ning Shu dodging quickly, he probably would have been shot. "You're not being honest." The school doctor looked at Mo Lingxuan. The scalpel at Ling Xue's waist immediately pierced Ling Xue's skin. Ling Xue groaned in pain. The cold thing penetrated deep into her body. This man was simply a lunatic. "Now you should throw the bomb away." Mo Lingxuan was very unhappy in his heart. At that time, when he was flirting with Ling Xue, he felt that someone had entered the secret passage and threw a bomb into it. It was a very enjoyable feeling, but now, the situation made him very unhappy. The school doctor shrugged his shoulders and threw the bomb towards Mo Lingxuan. Mo Lingxuan caught the bomb and saw the number jumping on it. Even if Mount Tai didn't collapse in front of him, Mo Lingshuan's face was still slightly pale. Mo Lingshuan used all his strength to throw the bomb far away. Then, with a boom, a scorching heat wave rushed towards him. Ning Shu was already lying on the ground, so he wasn't injured. Instead, the unscrupulous school doctor directly hid behind Ling Shui. Ling Shui was so miserable that even her hair was scalded by the heat wave. Moreover, her face was red. She didn't have any noble and elegant appearance. Ning Shu covered his mouth and laughed. He was really speechless towards the school doctor. Did he really like Ling Shui? A normal man should be pressing down on the female lead and protecting her at this time. He actually hid behind the female lead. Uncle, why are you so cowardly? The female lead definitely wouldn't like a coward like you. Mo Lingshuan crawled up from the ground. Seeing Ling Shui's red face and exploding hair, he coldly scolded the school doctor, "Hurry up and let her go." "Why should I let her go?" The school doctor dragged Ling Shui towards Ning Shu. If possible, Ning Shu really wanted to tell him not to bring the female lead over. The female lead was a troublemaker. If he stayed with the female lead, he would meet all kinds of trouble. The school doctor kicked Ning Shu. "Pig teammate, what are you daydreaming for? Hurry up and leave." Ning Shu glanced at Ling Shui. He didn't think that Ling Shui would be so obedient and let them take her away. Moreover, don't forget that Ling Shui was a cultivator and had some mysterious methods. Ling Shui wanted to use some methods, but her body didn't have any spiritual energy. It took her a lot of effort to absorb some spiritual energy from Mo Lingshuan's body and used it to treat her wound. Her wound had just healed, but now her back was stabbed by this person. Ling Shui's heart was about to explode. These two people were in cahoots. One used a gun to injure her, and the other used a knife to stab her. They were simply despicable. She must make these two people pay the price. Mo Lingshuan coldly looked at the school doctor who was courting death and coldly said, "You have successfully angered me. I will make you beg for death." "I am the one who will make people beg for death." The school doctor felt quite astonished. Mo Lingshuan was about to explode in anger. The veins on his forehead were throbbing. This person must be sick. Ning Shu felt that life was really fucked up. Fuck, what's the point of this conversation? Shouldn't we be running for our lives now? Chapter 23. Mo Lingshuan took out his phone, probably to call his underlings. Then he stared coldly at the school doctor and Ning Shu, as if to say, "You're dead meat." The eyes of the boss of the underworld weren't for show. At least, Ning Shu's legs went soft under such a gaze. He saw the school doctor hugging Ling Shui's neck and not letting go. "Uncle, what should we do now?" Ning Shu asked. "Let's run quickly. If there are more people, we won't be able to run." The school doctor nodded and dragged Ling Shui away. Mo Lingshuan caught up and pulled Ling Shui. Then, the two men pulled Ling Shui like a tug-of-war. Then, the school doctor stabbed the knife on Ling Shui's back deeper and deeper. Ning Shu widened his eyes at the side. Looking at the blood on the ground and Ling Shui's pale face, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hearing the sound of a horn not far away, Ning Shu guessed that Mo Lingshuan's men had arrived. He pulled the school doctor and said, "Uncle, let's go first. Their men are here." The school doctor unwillingly let go of Ling Shui. Then he quickly took out his gun and shot Ling Shui. Then he pulled Ning Shu and ran quickly. Ning Shu turned around and looked at Ling Shui. Her expression was also blank. First, she was stabbed, and now she was beaten. Ning Shu turned around and looked at the school doctor. He panted and asked, "Uncle, didn't you say you needed her? Why did you shoot?" Shooting without hesitation, "Do you really like the female lead? Light a candle for Ling Shui." "Stop, the people in front, stop for me, stop for this daddy." Behind, Mo Lingshuan's men shouted and shot from time to time. Ning Shu and the school doctor ran to the road halfway up the mountain. Seeing that there weren't any cars passing by, the sound behind them got closer and closer. The school doctor smashed the window of the car parked on the road with his gun. Then, under Ning Shu's confused gaze, he started to unlock the car. "Isn't this scene in a movie? Uncle, can you really do it? Uncle, hurry up. The people behind are almost here. Hurry up, hurry up. You're here?" The school doctor said lightly. She didn't know how to play. The gunshots behind them were getting louder and louder. Ning Shu hurriedly got into the car. Seeing the school doctor bending over slowly, Ning Shu was about to break down. Finally, at the last moment, the school doctor really drove the car away. Ning Shu turned his head and looked at the people chasing behind. These people could only watch as the car drove away. Ning Shu's heart was overjoyed. Oh my God, it was too exciting. His heart was beating wildly in his chest. The school doctor beside him had a face full of displeasure. Seeing that this pig teammate was still looking at him, the school doctor sneered. If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten rid of Ling Shui long ago. You're a pig teammate. Ning Shu was speechless. Was there still any revolutionary friendship left? At the very least, they had escaped together. Uncle, you know how to defuse bombs and steal cars. What else can you do? Ning Shu asked. Seeing that the school doctor was an all-rounder, if she had this ability, wouldn't it be easier to complete tasks in the future? The school doctor, Ning Shu, rolled his eyes. These are the most basic things. Forget it, a pig teammate like you will never understand. Did he have to keep talking about a pig teammate? Ning Shu looked at the side of the school doctor's face and asked, Why did you shoot Ling Shui? Didn't you say that you needed her? Can you not ask such stupid questions? Injuring her can disturb that man's judgment. Didn't you see that the man didn't chase after her? His minions are all trash. The school doctor said matter-of-factly. Ning Shu covered his chest and said, Didn't you say that you needed her? Why did you shoot her? Didn't you like her? That's why I shot her in the shoulder. She won't die. The school doctor said matter-of-factly. Ning Shu, are you sure you're not a pervert? It was so messy. He couldn't understand what this person was thinking. Ning Shu felt that after knowing this uncle, his worldview had changed. Why were they so love-hate? Although she successfully escaped this time, the loss was really too great. She lost her pistol and offended the male and female protagonists. Moreover, it was a gang with many underlings. Ning Shu felt that it would be difficult for her to do anything in the future. Uncle, you have to protect me. My life is in danger now. Those people will definitely take revenge on me. Ning Shu said pitifully. Why should I help you? You're so useless. Staying with you affects my IQ. The school doctor said coldly. Ning Shu said with a bitter face, Uncle, you can't be like this. We're partners, aren't we? I don't know you. Ning Shu. Heartless, cold, unreasonable. No matter what happened, Ning Shu didn't dare to go home alone. He stayed in school every day. After class, he ran to the school doctor's office. What surprised Ning Shu was that the injured Ling Shui came to class early in the morning a few days later. Although she didn't look well, she didn't look injured. Ning Shu was stunned. Did Ling Shui eat an elixir? She was injured yesterday and came to class today. How did she sit? Seeing Ning Shu, Ling Shui revealed her white teeth. She looked at Ning Shu calmly, but it made Ning Shu's heart skip a beat. Ling Shui sat in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu held his three-legged desk and narrowed his eyes at Ling Shui's back. She and Ling Shui had shown their true colors. They wouldn't let each other go. Ning Shu wasn't afraid anymore. She touched the gun at her waist. It wasn't an ordinary gun. It was given to her by the school doctor to save her life. After class, Ling Shui was lying on the desk, seemingly sleeping. And Rong walked over and asked with concern, Ling Shui, what's wrong? Are you okay? Ling Shui looked up and shook her head. I'm fine. And Rong immediately shouted at Ning Shu, Did you bully Ling Shui? Ning Shu, what the hell? And Rong raised her chin and said, Are you asking for a beating? How dare you bully Ling Shui? Ling Shui stood up and pulled in Rong. I'm fine. She didn't bully me. You're always like this. You're bullied and you don't say anything. That's why you let others bully you. And Rong expected better from Ling Shui. Looking at Ling Shui's weak appearance, she didn't look like she had a superpower. Recently, there had been rumors in school that Ling Shui had a superpower. And Rong was already worried. Now that she saw Ling Shui's weak appearance, she knew it was a rumor. Let me tell you, bullying Ling Shui is bullying me. I'll make you suffer. And Rong raised her chin to Ning Shu. Chapter 24. What the hell? What the hell is going on? Ning Shu looked at Ling Shui. She didn't have her usual elegance. Instead, she looked like a shy little white flower fluttering in the wind. Seeing how Enrong was protecting her, Ning Shu could only sigh. Ling Shui had more tricks up her sleeves in just a few days. Ning Shu could clearly feel that the students in the classroom were looking at her with disdain and rejection. Obviously, they all thought that she bullied Ling Shui. Ning Shu wanted to vomit blood. She didn't do anything. How did she bully the female lead? The female lead's battle prowess had soared again. She had both martial prowess and brain power. She was simply heaven-defying. Previously, Ling Shui was cold and elegant, basically ignoring him. She had absolute confidence in her ability to crush others. But now, Ling Shui was obviously targeting Ning Shu. Moreover, she was using such a method to deal with her. You still dare to say that you didn't bully her? At Prince Lung's banquet, you chased after Ling Shui and hit her. You still dare to say that you didn't bully her? She was bedridden for several days, Enrong said disdainfully. She looked at Ning Shu as if she was looking at scum. Ning Shu's eyebrows twitched. She was used to seeing Ling Shui's cool and arrogant appearance. But now, she really couldn't get used to her weak and delicate appearance. Enrong wanted to grab Ning Shu's hair. Ning Shu dodged and threw her over his shoulder. Enrong cried out in pain. Since you want to pretend to be a little white flower, if I don't do something to you, I'll be letting myself down. Ning Shu slapped Ling Shui twice. Ling Shui was stunned. She covered her face and looked at Ning Shu in a daze. Obviously, she didn't believe that Ning Shu would really dare to hit her. Then, she looked at Ning Shu with a gaze that was incomparably cold. The people in the classroom were also stunned by Ning Shu's slap. In their eyes, this orphan girl, this lowly person, was simply crazy. She actually dared to hit the goddess. The goddess wasn't called a goddess for nothing. It represented the support the students of Ace Academy had for Ling Shui. Ning Shu didn't care about these looks at all. She had nothing to lose. She had been kicked out of the Lin family and had nothing to do with the Lin family. Her biological parents hadn't been found yet, so she was completely single. But Ling Shui was different. She was beautiful and aloof, and she had the adoration of the third prince of the school. Even Enrong, who was standing up with her hands on her waist, was dumbfounded. Looking at Ning Shu's eyes, she felt that she was courting death. This woman was absolutely crazy. Enrong was thrown to the ground. She was extremely embarrassed and angry, but now that she saw a trace of madness between Ning Shu's brows, she silently distanced herself from him. Enrong's actions made Ling Shui's heart sink. She then saw that no one in the classroom had any intention of speaking up for her. The reason why Ling Shui came to school so quickly was because this Lin Jiejia had been hiding in the school all this time. Even after school, she stayed in the school. It was impossible for her subordinates to enter Ace Academy to look for her. This school wasn't as simple as it looked. When Ling Shui was still a fledgling, she was very obedient in school. She continuously absorbed the essence of many people and even rolled in the bed with Mo Lingshuan many times before the wounds on her body healed. Perhaps because she had absorbed too much essence, her spiritual energy became more modeled. Sometimes she would even suffer a backlash. But Ling Shui had no choice. Cultivation was her life-saving thing. After being injured by modern weapons time and time again, Ling Shui didn't dare to think of modern technology anymore. Previously, she looked down on these things, but she was injured by scum with guns. It was all because of this Lin Jiejia that everything started to go wrong. She wanted this woman to be unable to stay in this school. Looking at Ling Shui's aggrieved appearance, Ning Shu suddenly had the urge to take out a gun and blow her head off. But after thinking about it, she still gave up. She couldn't let this body bear the crime of murder. Scram! Ning Shu pushed Ling Shui, who was blocking in front of her. Ling Shui staggered and almost fell. She looked extremely weak, making Ning Shu even more arrogant and despotic. Fuck, she was really addicted to acting. Seeing this Ling Shui, Ning Shu really wasn't used to it. Female lead, where's your coolness? You suddenly changed your style. What do you want others to do? As soon as Ning Shu came out of the classroom, he ran to the school doctor's office. He saw the school doctor wearing glasses and seriously explaining to a girl about her period. The girl's face was full of shyness. Ning Shu even saw the school doctor's eyes reflecting a bright light. Ning Shu was really worried for the girl. If you knew that the school doctor in front of you was a pervert who could take out a gun and shoot you at any time, you probably wouldn't appear in front of the school doctor anymore. The school doctor looked at Ning Shu indifferently and said, "What's the matter? It's not dark yet and you want to sleep in my school doctor's office again?" "No, Ling Shui came to class," Ning Shu said. The school doctor faintly said, "Oh." Looking at Ning Shu's stupid face, he said, "This is a school. Don't tell me you want me to do something to her in school?" Ning Shu didn't want to talk to this person at all. There was simply no way to communicate with him. What she meant was that if Ling Shui came to class, her life would be difficult. After coming out of the school doctor's office, Ning Shu returned to the classroom and saw that Ling Shui's seat was surrounded by people. There were both boys and girls. The most sudden one was the school's third prince. They all surrounded Ling Shui. The moment Ning Shu entered the classroom, everyone's eyes were on him. Ning Shu walked to his seat and saw Ling Shui lying on the table, ignoring the comforting people around her. This made Lung Ao's face reveal an annoyed and distressed expression. Lung Ao looked at Ning Shu as if nothing had happened. He stretched out his leg and kicked the three-legged table that Ning Shu had just supported. "Fuck, why do you always vent your anger on my table? My table already has 3 legs. It's already very pitiful." Ning Shu raised his head and looked at Lung Ao indifferently. Lung Ao was a little frightened by his gaze. Then, anger surged in his heart. He was actually frightened by the gaze of a lowly person. Moreover, it was the gaze of a girl. "I've told you many times. Don't bully Ling Shui. If you bully Ling Shui, I'll make your life a living hell." Lung Ao's face was a little distorted. He was angry out of humiliation. Obviously, he was frightened by Ning Shu's gaze just now. "Meeting an idiot like you already made my life a living hell." If it wasn't for the mission, Ning Shu really didn't want to see him. "Hey, I'm talking to you. What's with your attitude?" Lung Ao felt that Ning Shu's gaze was especially strange and disdainful. This lowly person actually dared to despise him. What right did he have to despise him? Did he know his situation? He was just an orphan. Chapter 25. Ning Shu was really frustrated by Lung Ao's chunibu look. Seeing that his desk was kicked to the ground, a 3-legged desk was really pitiful. Lung Ao looked at Ning Shu coldly. "Apologize to Ling Shui, or I'll let you die a horrible death. Do you still want to stay in this school? I can make it so that you can't stay in this school anymore." Ning Shu raised his eyelids silently, looked at Lung Ao and said indifferently, "Stand up the table for me." "What did you say?" Lung Ao's face was filled with disbelief. You want me to stand up the table for you? Are you crazy? You lowly person, you're crazy. Stand up the table for me." Ning Shu said indifferently. "Have you lost your mind?" Lung Ao looked at Ning Shu in disbelief, as if he was looking at a lunatic. "Do you know who I am?" Ning Shu had heard this sentence so many times that his ears grew calluses. He said it as if he was a god who couldn't be insulted at all. "Stand up the table for me." These people who were watching the show all felt that Ning Shu's brain was not normal. He actually had the guts to treat Prince Lung like this. The surrounding girls all looked at Ning Shu with laser-like eyes. They were all condemning Ning Shu for being rude to Prince Lung. Lung Ao took a deep breath, stretched out his hand and clenched his fist until it cracked. He moved his neck and said arrogantly, "I said that I don't hit women, but you're an exception now. You should feel honored that you've broken my vow not to hit women." "Ning Shu, what's with this feeling of self-satisfaction? How long are you going to talk to yourself?" Ning Shu walked to Lung Ao in a few steps. Under Lung Ao's confused gaze, he directly threw Lung Ao over his shoulder without any hesitation. "Oh, wow, the surrounding people exclaimed and stared blankly at Lung Ao who was lying on the ground. Lung Ao who was lying on the ground supported his waist with his hand and looked at Ning Shu in disbelief. Until now, he still hadn't reacted. Since he was young, he had always been supported by others. This was the first time he had encountered such treatment. Ling Shui also looked at Ning Shu in disbelief, then looked at Lung Ao who was lying on the ground. She quickly helped Lung Ao up. After being embarrassed in front of his sweetheart, Lung Ao hated Ning Shu to the bone. He was actually thrown over the shoulder by a girl in front of everyone. It was like putting his dignity on the ground and stepping on it. The surprised gazes of the surrounding people were like knives stabbing into Lung Ao's shame and resentment, making Lung Ao want to tear Ning Shu apart. Ning Shu's face was cold, and his heart was very stifled. Damn it, she almost sprained her waist. Sure enough, throwing a boy over her shoulder was much more difficult than throwing a girl over her shoulder. Are you looking for death? Lung Ao raised his fist and smashed it towards Ning Shu's face. He used all his strength in this punch. Ning Shu wouldn't let others hit him obediently. He dodged and stretched out his leg to kick Lung Ao's knee. It was a solid kick. Then Lung Ao knelt on the ground in front of everyone. Ning Shu was really annoyed with Lung Ao. Taking advantage of the fact that he was kneeling on the opposite side, she kicked his butt again, making him fall flat on his face. Lung Ao was speechless. Who could tell him what was going on? Lung Ao's mind was in a mess. He wished he was invisible so that no one could see his embarrassment. He must make this crazy woman pay the price. He must pay the price. Ling Shui felt that this woman was really crazy. She was simply looking for death. It would be best if she was kicked out of ace school as soon as possible. Ling Shui felt that this woman called Lin Jiejia could go and die. Once she was out of school, this woman could only wait for death. Lung Ao was helped up by someone. His expression was very ugly. The gaze he used to look at Ning Shu was very cold. Every word he said seemed to come from the gaps between his teeth. Bitch, you've successfully pissed me off. Ning Shu couldn't be bothered with him. He lifted up his three-legged table and didn't even look at him. He didn't even pay attention to his words. She had a lot of things to do. She didn't have time to care about this damn prince who lived in her own world. Lung Ao was so angry at Ning Shu's attitude that he almost jumped up. However, he also knew that he was at a disadvantage today. He raised his chin arrogantly and walked past Ning Shu, bringing a gust of cold wind that made people's hearts turn cold. Ning Shu knew that he had offended Lung Ao. However, since he had offended him, he didn't want to care at all. His attention was on Ling Shui. He didn't understand what Ling Shui was trying to do. The queen suddenly became a white lotus. What the hell was she doing? Ning Shu touched the gun at his waist and looked at Ling Shui who was sitting in front of him. In the following days, Ling Shui targeted Ning Shu more and more, making Ning Shu's days in school more and more difficult. Ling Shui thought that Ning Shu wouldn't be able to stay in school anymore. However, she didn't expect him to take root in school. He ate, drank, and slept in school. Ling Shui secretly cursed Ning Shu for being so thick-skinned. Fortunately, the spirit energy in her body was already abundant. Although it was abundant, it was too mottled. There were too many impurities. She had absorbed too many people's essence. Sometimes, when Ling Shui used spirit energy, she felt that it was very troublesome. Ling Shui didn't know how to purify the spirit energy and get rid of the impurities. However, she couldn't stop absorbing people's essence. The spirit energy in this world was too thin. It was so thin that it made people's balls hurt. Ling Shui was now very annoyed. How did humans make the world like this? Lung Ao only lost his dignity in Ning Shu's hands last time. He swore to get justice from Ning Shu. Then, a man like Lung Ao actually found trouble with Ning Shu every day and fought with Ning Shu every day. Ning Shu didn't hold back against the punching bag that came to his door. He trained his martial arts. In the beginning, Ning Shu couldn't take it. After all, she was a girl. It was very difficult for her to fight against Lung Ao, who was almost 9 meters tall. After losing face in front of Ning Shu again and again, Lung Ao held back his anger and insisted on getting back his dignity. As a man, he was actually beaten up by a woman. Moreover, this woman was getting fiercer and fiercer. The entire Ace Academy was used to it. They were used to Lung Ao finding trouble with that inferior person every day. Then, Prince Lung would be beaten up by that inferior woman. Then, Prince Lung wouldn't admit defeat and went looking for trouble again the next day. Ning Shu didn't have the admiration and adoration of the original Lin Jiejia for Lung Ao. If he came looking for trouble again, Ning Shu wouldn't be polite at all. Ling Shui really didn't like Lung Ao looking for Ning Shu every day. She pulled back Ling Ao, who was angrily looking for Ning Shu, and said, "Just get someone to expel him. There are rumors in the school now that you two like each other." Like each other? What's that? Ling Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at Ling Shui and said firmly, "I'm standing up for you and taking revenge for you. Expelling him is letting him off too easily." Chapter 26. Ling Shui watched as Ling Ao angrily went to find trouble with Lin Jiejia. Ling Shui felt very uncomfortable. In the past, Ling Ao only had her in his heart. But now, Ling Ao actually set his eyes on the ant who stepped on Lin Jiejia. No matter what, this was not a good sign. Ling Shui found the other two princes. She urgently needed people's essence. Anyway, these two princes liked to follow her around. It would be a waste not to take the essence that was sent to her door. On the other side, Ling Ao found Ning Shu. Ning Shu was studying hard. Even though it was difficult to learn, Ning Shu still studied hard. Ling Ao walked over quietly and wanted to kick Ning Shu's table over. Ning Shu took advantage of the moment when he stretched out his leg and kicked Ling Ao's knee. Ling Ao sneered in his heart. He had been on guard for a long time and dodged Ning Shu's attack in an instant. After suffering so many losses, how could he suffer again? This woman really underestimated him. Recently, he had been working very hard to train his fighting skills. There was no reason for him to lose to a girl. Ning Shu took the opportunity to grab Ling Ao's arm and threw him over his shoulder. Ling Ao lay on the ground, furious. Is this woman a giant? She has so much strength. Ning Shu clapped his hands, crossed his chest and looked at Ling Ao on the ground. "I'm telling you, don't mess with me." Ling Ao looked at Ning Shu's calm expression as if he was something insignificant. Why was this girl so calm when facing him? She did not have the adoration in other girls' eyes. Ling Ao recalled the past. In the past, Lin Jiejia was always by his side with a lingering love in her eyes. But now there was nothing in it. Ling Ao could not describe his feelings. He could feel that this girl's attitude towards him was very cold, very cold. There was a kind of indifference that chilled him to the bone. Ning Shu could not be bothered with Ling Ao's thoughts. Even if he knew, he would only give him the middle finger. Some people were just cheap, very cheap. Ling Ao patted the dust on his body, raised his chin arrogantly and said coldly, "I said before, don't mess with Ling Shui. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson." Ning Shu was speechless. Crazy and quite sick at that. She didn't bother Ling Shui all the time at all. Instead, it was this Ling Ao who kept harassing her because he wanted to get back at her. "You've been circling around me like a mosquito, but you don't tell me you've fallen for me? Is it because you love me so much that you can't say it out loud? Is that why you're using such a method to get close to me?" Ning Shu was just spouting nonsense because she was really annoyed with Ling Ao, who was always looking for trouble with her. She really wanted to study seriously. A school had a lot of classes and too much knowledge. Ning Shu absorbed this knowledge like a sponge. It was never wrong to learn more. Even if he didn't understand it now, he would understand it in the future. However, when Ling Ao heard this, it was as if he had been stung by a poisonous scorpion. He was very agitated, as if he had heard something extremely insulting to him. He was so angry that he laughed out loud. He pointed at Ning Shu, his fingers trembling. "Lin Jiejia, you're really daydreaming. Why would I like you? Why would I like you? I don't think I'll like you. Even if I like a dog, I won't like you. Ning Shu, why are you so agitated, idiot?" Ling Ao was agitated, but when he saw Ning Shu's cold expression, as if he didn't hear what he said at all, Ling Ao felt very stifled. Ning Shu couldn't be bothered with this lunatic. He carried his books and prepared to find the school doctor. Ning Shu discovered a big secret. The school doctor was really too knowledgeable and knew everything. Ning Shu had a lot of things to ask him for advice. Although the school doctor was impatient, he would still explain to Ning Shu. "Hey, I'm talking to you. Where are you going? Hey, Lin Jiejia." Ling Ao grabbed Ning Shu's arm, but then he seemed to have caught something disgusting and quickly shook it off. "Ning Shu, if you're sick, you have to see a doctor." Ning Shu carried his books and walked towards the school doctor. Ling Ao followed beside him and kept muttering, which annoyed Ning Shu. Ning Shu stopped in her tracks and raised her head to look at Lung Ao. What exactly do you want? What do you want from me? Lung Ao felt a little uncomfortable under Ning Shu's gaze and shouted, I'm not following you. This road is your home. Only you are allowed to walk. I happen to be walking this road too. What's wrong? Lin Jia, I'm telling you, don't think too much. Ning Shu, I'm not thinking anything. Lung Ao glanced at her and found that her face was cold, as if nothing could enter her eyes. Suddenly, Ning Shu stopped. Lung Ao, who was walking behind, bumped into Ning Shu. Lung Ao sneered, Why did you stop? Shut up. Ning Shu said in a low voice and pulled Lung Ao to squat down under the window. Lung Ao wanted to shake off Ning Shu's hand, but when she saw Ning Shu's serious face, she asked softly, What's wrong? Shu, don't talk. Ning Shu raised his head slightly and looked into the room through the window. This was a storage room with all kinds of sports equipment. There were 3 people in the room. It was the same again. Ning Shu looked at the situation in the room. It was Ling Shui and the other 2 princes. Ling Shui's clothes were flying in the wind. The 2 men sitting on the cushion looked dazed and pale. What's wrong with Yifei and Feiyong? What are they doing? Lung Ao didn't look good at all. Moreover, Ling Shui was alone with his 2 friends, which made Lung Ao very uncomfortable. He also knew that his 2 friends had feelings for Ling Shui, but now that the 2 of them were with Ling Shui behind his back, in Lung Ao's heart, Ling Shui was already his woman. Lung Ao stood up and rushed into the room. Ning Shu quickly pulled Lung Ao back and said in a low voice, Let go, I want to go in. Ning Shu really wanted to give this guy a punch. Considering that there were other people in the room, Ning Shu went close to Lung Ao's ear and said, Don't be impatient. Lung Ao's body froze. He felt a hot breath on his ear. It was very numb and goosebumps appeared all over his body. He let the other party pull him back. Ning Shu looked at the situation inside. Looking at Ling Shui's situation, Ning Shu felt that Ling Shui must be using some kind of sorcery. He looked at the 2 pale-faced princes. Ling Shui, who was in the room, had already stopped. She looked at the 2 men, then groped the 2 men's bodies and took off her clothes. The 2 princes' faces were filled with amazement and excitement. They took off their clothes one after another. Ning Shu looked back at Lung Ao. He looked as if he was struck by lightning. Chapter 27. Ling Shui's skin was as white as snow, curvy, slender and straight legs, charming. Yifei and Feiyong, who were opposite her, immediately became excited, raising their manhood high. Ning Shu, so the female lead is rolling around with someone in broad daylight? 3P, why is Ling Shui so fierce? Ning Shu looked at the live, erotic scene. This was the second time he saw Ling Shui rolling around in bed with someone. Charming and ecstatic sounds came from inside the intertwined bodies. Ning Shu stared at the situation inside. It was rare to see such a scene with such a strong taste. Ling Shui's eyes were charming and blurred. 2 men were touching her body as if worshipping her. How could the high and mighty Ling Shui, Feiyong Ling Shui, be like this? Ning Shu remembered that Ling Shui only had 1 man, Mo Lingshuan, in the plot, but now she was playing with such hardcore things. Ning Shu blinked, feeling the breathing of the person on his back become more rapid. He turned back and saw Lung Ao. His body reacted, but his eyes were full of anger, his face was red and green, a rainbow flashed across. But such an exciting scene made Lung Ao's body excited uncontrollably. Embarrassment, excitement, disappointment, all kinds of emotions made Lung Ao's heart about to explode. Ning Shu suddenly saw the hope of completing the mission. He had to save this Prince Lung and not let him be manipulated and deceived by Ling Shui. Now that Lung Ao saw Ling Shui like this, it was still not enough to make him give up with a man. Lung Ao was like a volcano erupting. No, this guy can't be stimulated anymore. Ning Shu pulled Lung Ao and was about to leave, but Lung Ao seemed to be nailed to his feet, refusing to budge. Looking at the situation in the storage room, his ears were full of lingering sounds. If it wasn't for the situation, Ning Shu wanted to give him 2 big slaps to wake him up. Ning Shu used a lot of strength to drag Lung Ao away. Ning Shu only let go of Lung Ao when they reached the lawn of the garden. Lung Ao's face was as pale as a sheet of ice. Lung Ao turned around and was about to go back to the storage room when Ning Shu stood in front of him. What's the use of going back like this? I want to know why she betrayed me. Why? Lung Ao growled in a low voice. He looked crazy and pained, as if the whole world had betrayed him. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. You're feeling too good. Ling Shui has nothing to do with you. Everything is just your imagination. It was also Ling Shui's specious words that gave Lung Ao such an illusion. Lung Ao felt as if the world was about to collapse. He was extremely humiliated and angry, resentful and crazy. Even the way he looked at Ning Shu was filled with resentment. However, the truth was right in front of his eyes. No matter how he tried to defend Ling Shui, he couldn't change what had just happened. Calm down first. Ning Shu felt that there was hope for his mission. His attitude towards Lung Ao was also a little better. Of course, it was just a little, but it didn't change the fact that Ning Shu hated Lung Ao. Looking at Lung Ao's miserable state, Ning Shu's heart was very gloating. You deserve it. She gave him 32 likes. Ning Shu held back his urge to burst out laughing. He comforted Lung Ao and said, It's good that you know now. You're Prince Lung. You're from a noble family and you're so handsome. Don't become so stupid because of a woman. It's painful. Ning Shu was only happy. He looked at Lung Ao kneeling on the ground like a madman and smashing the grass with his fists. Ning Shu pursed his lips. What's the big deal about hitting the grass? Hit the cement road if you have the ability. Lung Ao vented for a long time. He lay on the grass. Ning Shu sat beside him and didn't say anything. Ning Shu saw that Lung Ao's eyes were watery. He was probably really sad. Ling Shui didn't know how lucky she was to have such an outstanding and arrogant boy who loved her so much. He didn't care about her at all and trampled on her heart. Damned woman, what are you looking at? Lung Ao got up from the ground and looked down at Ning Shu with his chin. He was extremely arrogant. Ning Shu was speechless. He couldn't be bothered with him. He hugged his books and prepared to go to the school doctor. It was probably because this woman had seen her most embarrassing side. She looked very uncomfortable and looked at Ning Shu with a kind of ferocious gaze. She probably wanted to kill Ning Shu to silence her. Hey woman, where are you going? Lung Ao followed behind Ning Shu. Seeing that she didn't care about him at all, he felt very uncomfortable. On one hand, it was because of his embarrassing appearance. On the other hand, this woman didn't even think of comforting him after such a thing happened to him. This woman's heart was really cold. Hey, woman, I'm talking to you. Lung Ao said in a low voice. Ning Shu, what's with the cool name, woman? Can you stop following me? Ning Shu turned his head to look at him irritably. Go find your Ling Shui. Are you mocking me? Lung Ao stretched out his fist. His eyes were bloodshot. Forget it, I don't hit women. Lung Ao put down his fist. Don't hit women? Ning Shu sneered. Who was the one who came to fight with her every day? Ning Shu entered the school doctor's office and saw the school doctor rubbing his nails seductively. The corner of Ning Shu's mouth twitched. Lung Ao, who followed him, saw the school doctor and his heart was filled with hostility. He questioned Ning Shu, who is this person? Are you crazy? Can't you see that he's wearing a white coat? He's the school doctor. Ning Shu said sarcastically. I'm asking you, what's your relationship with him? TSK, Lin Jejia can't tell that you like older men. Lung Ao sneered and looked up and down at the school doctor's office. The more he looked, the more uncomfortable he felt. He's just an old man. TSK, only old men have a market. Ling Shui also doesn't like you. She likes Semo Lingshuan, that old man. She doesn't like a little kid like you. The school doctor put down the nail file and pushed his glasses up. He looked at Lung Ao and asked Ning Shu, your man? Before Ning Shu could refute, Lung Ao jumped up as if he had stepped on a nail. How can I be her man? She's so ugly. Even if I'm blind, I won't like this woman. The school doctor looked calmly at Lung Ao who was jumping up and down. See, this is the difference between a mature man and a childish boy. TSK. The school doctor glanced at Lung Ao, then looked at Ning Shu and said, why are you looking for me again? Let me tell you, I'm not in a good mood recently. Don't bother me. Let me tell you something. You have to hold on. Ning Shu wanted to see the school doctor's expression when he found out that Ling Shui was playing a threesome game. What are you still doing here? The school doctor glanced at Lung Ao and snorted. Do you think I want to be here? He glanced at Ning Shu and turned to leave. Ning Shu then looked at the school doctor with a smile. He leaned close to his ear and wanted to say something. The school doctor poked Ning Shu's forehead with his finger, telling him to stay away from him. Just talk. Why are you leaning so close? Chapter 28. Aren't you curious about what I'm going to tell you? Ning Shu looked at the school doctor excitedly. He wanted to see the school doctor's expression when he found out. The school doctor raised his eyebrows and looked at Ning Shu. How boring. Such an indifferent expression made people lose interest in gossiping. Well, Ling Shui and the two princes have a threesome. It's in the storage room of the sports equipment. Should we? The school doctor stood up and looked at Ning Shu with disdain. Why is your taste so heavy? You like to watch this kind of thing. You have no sense of shame at all. Ning Shu was speechless. Come on, the main point was Ling Shui. Why didn't he criticize Ling Shui's messy life? If someone had no sense of shame, it should be Ling Shui. Where are you going now? Ning Shu saw the school doctor leaving the school doctor's office and quickly followed him. It seemed like he was going to the storage room. Uncle, do you want to see it too? Uncle, I know you care about it. Ning Shu followed the school doctor and nagged. Shut up. The school doctor lifted his white coat and took out a strange-looking gun from his waist. Ning Shu was shocked. Uncle, calm down, calm down. Don't tell me you're going to kill someone in school? I know Ling Shui's actions make you upset, but you have to calm down. Calm down. Ning Shu looked at the school doctor and guessed that he was going to kill the adulterer. Shut up. The school doctor couldn't stand Ning Shu anymore. I'll shoot you if you make any more noise. Ning Shu raised his hand. Hey, I won't say any more. When they arrived outside the storage room and heard the noise inside, Ning Shu only wanted to say that this guy was really strong. He was still rolling around. The school doctor squatted by the window and looked inside. He held a gun and revealed a faint smile. However, it made Ning Shu's heart turn cold. In Ning Shu's opinion, the school doctor had been driven crazy. Shouldn't we rush in and catch them in the act now? Ning Shu asked in a low voice. This was how it was portrayed in TV dramas and palace dramas. I've said it before. If you want to talk, just talk. Don't come so close. The school doctor's glasses reflected a bright light, and it sent chills down people's spines. Ning Shu silently took 2 steps back. Under Ning Shu's stunned gaze, the school doctor unlocked the door and gently opened it. Uncle, please accept my moral integrity and kneel. Uncle, why are you so awesome? Are you the female lead? If you show off your skills in front of Ling Shui, she will definitely be dead set on you. Ning Shu watched the school doctor go in. It was a strange feeling to be on the lookout for him at the door. After waiting for a while, there was still no movement inside. Ning Shu had an impure thought. Did the school doctor join the group and have sex with them? Uncle, you have to have some moral integrity. After a while, the school doctor carried the unconscious Ling Shui out. Ling Shui was already dressed. What is going on? Ning Shu was stunned. He walked in and saw 2 naked men lying on the mats. They didn't even have a piece of cloth to cover their private parts. Ning Shu immediately came out of the storage room and asked the school doctor, Uncle, what is going on? The school doctor looked at Ning Shu indifferently. He probably felt that he was too big of a target, so he carried Ling Shui in a princess carry. This scene was really beautiful. Ning Shu jogged behind the school doctor. Once they entered the school doctor's room, the school doctor quickly pressed something on the wall and a secret passage immediately appeared. Ning Shu, why would there be such a secret passage? Walking through a secret passage is faster than a car. It's not scientific at all. Ning Shu thought about it and followed him in. The school doctor's room returned to normal. It was as if the secret passage was just an illusion. The school doctor walked very quickly with Ling Shui in his arms. It was as if he was carrying a feather. Ning Shu, who was following behind, was panting. After walking for a long time, Ning Shu felt that his legs were about to break. Finally, they reached their destination. The school doctor, who was walking in front, pushed open a door. Suddenly, a ray of light shot into the secret passage. Ning Shu blocked it with his hand and went through the door. Ning Shu looked at the situation in the room in a daze. It was an extremely clean laboratory. The light from the various instruments was very cold. There was not a single person in such a large laboratory. His footsteps echoed as he stepped on the floor. Ning Shu suddenly realized that he might have come to an incredible place. He looked around and saw all kinds of specimens. There were organs soaked in bottles. The color of the kidney was yellow. This color was probably gallstones. Ning Shu felt very uncomfortable. He did not dare to display the human specimens on the shelves. He followed the school doctor's footsteps. The school doctor put the unconscious Ling Shui on the operating table. Her limbs were locked by the iron chains on the operating table. Uncle, what are you doing? Ning Shu's teeth were chattering. The school doctor, Ning Shu, smiled, revealing his white teeth. His glasses reflected a bright light. He looked like a psychopath. Nothing. I just gave her a tranquilizer gun. That's why she fell asleep. The school doctor said, you can walk around the laboratory. All right, let me tell you. My main profession is actually a genetic scientist. Well, I prefer to dissect people. Damn, he was actually an expert in dissection. Ning Shu pointed at Ling Shui on the operating table. You want to dissect her? I said that I need her. I need her genes. I want to know why she can cultivate. Could it be that she activated the high-level genes in her body? The school doctor looked at Ling Shui on the operating table and reached out to touch Ling Shui's face. There are too many genes in the human body that are not activated. Many high-level genes are hidden under the influence of the environment and are not activated. This woman has such great ability. It is probably because of some high-level genes. Uncle, don't you read novels? Only people with spiritual roots can cultivate. Ning Shu could not help but ridicule. Spiritual roots. In my opinion, everything in the body can be explained by genes. The school doctor looked at Ling Shui with shining eyes. Can something like spiritual roots be transplanted? Maybe spiritual roots are just a high-level gene fragment. Cultivation is to activate other high-level genes in the body and improve the body's quality. Ning Shu listened to the school doctor blabber a lot of words that she did not understand. No wonder those ruthless people in the club were afraid of him and gave him the title of a madman. He was indeed a madman. Uncle, I want to go back. How do I go back? Ning Shu asked. Go back the way you came? Ning Shu was a little regretful that she provoked this person. The school doctor had his eyes on Ling Shui and wanted to dissect her. Damn, it was too scary. Uncle, do you want to dissect me too? Ning Shu looked at the school doctor vigilantly. Chapter 29. Uncle, you can't dissect me. Ning Shu looked at the school doctor with tears in his eyes. The school doctor held a pair of medical scissors in his hand and cut off Ling Shui's clothes. A fair and charming body was lying on the operating table. It was very beautiful. Even Ning Shu was tempted when he saw it. Her perky chest, bright red top, and fragrant grass below. Hearing Ning Shu's words, the school doctor moved the scissors in his hand. He didn't feel anything for the body on the operating table. Instead, he looked at Ning Shu with disdain. No, you're not even worth my scissors. Your genes are the genes that hinder human development. The most direct manifestation of the difference in genes is on your face. You're so ugly, how bad can your genes be? Ning Shu, are you mocking me in a roundabout way? On the operating table, Ling Shui's long eyelashes trembled. She was about to wake up. The school doctor sat beside the operating table and waited for Ling Shui to wake up. When Ling Shui woke up, she was blinded by the cold and glaring light. It took her a while to feel better. What was this place? Ling Shui tried to move her hands but found that she couldn't move at all. She was bound and naked. Ling Shui struggled to break free and found that her body was limp and powerless. She hurriedly mobilized the spirit qi in her dantian, wanting to break free from the iron lock that was more than an inch thick. You're awake. The school doctor looked at Ling Shui. Ling Shui was startled by the sudden voice. She looked at the tall school doctor. He was wearing a white coat and was tall and slender. Let me go, or I'll let you die a horrible death. Ling Shui shouted at the school doctor. However, she didn't sound imposing at all. Instead, her voice was soft and weak, revealing a hint of charm. Ning Shu watched from the side. When she saw the naked body and heard the voice, if she was a man, she would have taken a gun. Ning Shu glanced at the school doctor who was adjusting his glasses and secretly asked, "Uncle, do you want me to leave for a while?" Seeing Ning Shu, Ling Shui became even more agitated. She looked at Ning Shu with hatred. Ning Shu saw Ling Shui's gaze and laughed. It was clearly the school doctor uncle who caught her. Why was she looking at him so fiercely? She was so tolerant to men and so mean to women. This was what women were like. The school doctor put down the scissors in his hand and took out a scalpel. The scalpel looked unusually cold under the surgical light. Ling Shui's heart felt very bad. She tried to break free from the iron lock, but she couldn't. Even when she mobilized the spirit chi in her body, she couldn't break it open. She could only concentrate her spirit chi to cut the iron lock bit by bit. Ning Shu felt that she shouldn't stay here any longer. She guessed that it wouldn't be suitable for her to stay here in the upcoming situation. Seeing the school doctor's scalpel getting closer and closer, Ling Shui couldn't help but puff out her chest. Her breasts became even more turbulent, making her look unusually charming. Ling Shui's eyes revealed a frightened expression. Her eyes were hazy and blurred. It seemed that she was going to seduce the school doctor uncle. Ning Shu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She was really beautiful. Ning Shu wanted to reach out and touch her. Ning Shu shook his head. What was she thinking? Ling Shui's charm was really too strong. The school doctor narrowed his eyes and then quickly cut off the tendons of Ling Shui's arms and legs. Ling Shui was in so much pain that her whole body was convulsing. She looked at the school doctor uncle with bloodshot eyes and bit her lips so hard that it cracked. How could he cut off her meridians? How could he do that? How could she use her spirit chi if her meridians were cut off? Only now did Ling Shui's heart surged with fear and fear. She looked at the school doctor uncle with real fear and resentment. Ning Shu watched from the side. He looked at the school doctor uncle in a daze and then looked at Ling Shui's arms and legs. The place where her meridians were cut off did not bleed at all. He had accurately found the location. The school doctor uncle's expression was indifferent. It was as if he wasn't facing a beauty, but a dead object waiting for him to dissect. Ling Shui and Ning Shu felt a chill at the same time. Ling Shui felt an uncontrollable fear. She had a premonition that her life was going to end here. She was waiting for death every day, but she didn't know when she would die. How could this be? She was the one and only cultivator in this world. She was the person who stood at the top of the world. She was the person who could call the wind and summon the rain at the top of the world. But now, she was locked up in this laboratory that couldn't see the light of day. No, Ling Shui's heart was filled with unwillingness. But when she moved her hands, she felt weak and powerless. It was so painful that she wanted to die. The spirit chi in her body was stopped just when it reached this place. She hated it so much. Ning Shu let out a sigh of relief. He didn't expect her mission to be completed in this way. The high and mighty Ling Shui actually became an experimental subject. She was the experimental subject that provided genes for the school doctor uncle. Ning Shu glanced at Ling Shui and said to the school doctor uncle, "Uncle, I'm going back." "I'll send you back." The school doctor uncle put the knife on the tray and took off his gloves. He said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu was a little flattered. He immediately said, "Uncle, you're not going to kill me to silence me, are you?" The school doctor uncle paused. He touched his chin and thought, "That's a good idea." "Uncle, I was just joking. Don't take it seriously." "Uncle, I don't know anything." Ning Shu wanted to hug the school doctor uncle's leg and beg him to let him go. "Okay, let's go. Forget about today's matter." The school doctor uncle said indifferently. Then, Ning Shu felt that his legs were going to break again. Finally, they arrived at the school doctor's office. After entering the school doctor's office, Ning Shu took a deep breath and felt a little better. The cold laboratory was really suffocating. "Uncle, how are you going to deal with Ling Shui?" Ning Shu asked carefully. The school doctor uncle's face turned cold. "You don't have to care about this. This woman's abnormality has been noticed by the department. This is a matter for the higher-ups. It has nothing to do with you. Wow, it was related to the government. Then the school doctor uncle was from the government. She really shouldn't have known. Ning Shu sneaked in front of the school doctor uncle. The school doctor uncle immediately poked Ning Shu's forehead and said, "Just talk. Don't come so close." "Uncle, you're really amazing. I admire you so much. You're like a surging river." Ning Shu flattered the school doctor uncle. "Just talk. Why are you so disgusting?" The school doctor uncle patted his white coat. There was no dust on it. The school doctor uncle patted it. He probably had some OCD. "Say it. What do you want from me?" The school doctor uncle said indifferently. Ning Shu really admired the school doctor uncle now. "Uncle, you're really amazing. I admire you so much." The school doctor uncle closed his fingers and made a retracting gesture. Ning Shu immediately shut his mouth. "Uncle, can you help me find out who my biological parents are?" Ning Shu realized that the mission in this world was actually so easy after knowing the uncle. "Uncle, your thigh is so thick. I need to hug it more." Chapter 30. The school doctor's eyelids twitched as he looked deeply at Ning Shu. Ning Shu's heart thumped wildly under his gaze. He waved his hand and said, "No need. Don't help me find my parents. My genes are very bad. Don't dissect me." The school doctor looked at Ning Shu's appearance and clicked his tongue. "Look at your useless appearance. Why are you so cowardly? At least have some girls' reservedness and integrity." Ning Shu curled his lips. Without absolute strength, integrity and reservedness were nothing. "Yes, I'll remember this. You can scram now." The school doctor patted his white coat again. There was nothing on it, but the uncle kept patting it. This obsessive-compulsive disorder was too much. Ning Shu replied with an "oh," and then rolled away smoothly. He rolled away quickly. As soon as he entered the classroom, before he could react, he was grabbed by the arm and dragged out of the classroom. Ning Shu shook off Lung Ao's hand and said coldly, "What are you doing?" Lung Ao looked at him, so angry that his nose trembled. He asked, "Where did you go? I couldn't find you anywhere. Do you know where Ling Shui went?" "How would I know? I'm not Ling Shui's personal maid. How would I know where she is?" Ning Shu said indifferently. He looked at Lung Ao's twisted face. His eyes seemed to be sad, resentful, angry, jealous. In short, there were many emotions. It was really hard to describe, very hard to describe. Ning Shu felt that this guy had been driven crazy by Ling Shui. Seeing that this guy was so pitiful, Ning Shu mocked him. "Please, Ling Shui doesn't even care about you in the human world. Why are you still like this? So resentful, just like a woman. You." Lung Ao was so angry that the hand that pointed at Ning Shu was trembling. "You damn woman." Then he turned and left. Ling Shui's disappearance caused a huge impact in Ace. It was because Ling Shui was too famous. Ling Shui, who sat on the goddess seat, would be noticed even if she was a little late, let alone not coming to school for a few days. After a long time, Ling Shui did not come to school, which caused a lot of rumors. Some people said that Ling Shui was kept as a mistress, some said that Ling Shui was killed, and some even said that Ling Shui was kept as a mistress by a mafia boss. Some even said that they saw Ling Shui in a bar and became a hostess. In any case, there were many different opinions. Rumors about beautiful women all carried a kind of erotic aura. Ning Shu turned a deaf ear to these rumors. Her mission was to make the high and mighty Ling Shui fall down. The missing Ling Shui was only the female lead in the mouths of his classmates. All kinds of rumors were getting more and more filthy. There was another rumor. When Ning Shu heard it, she simply wanted to burst out laughing. It was that the two naked princes were discovered. The two men were naked and lying together. There was nothing on their bodies and their body parts were exposed. The two princes' little birds had been seen by countless people. Both men and women had seen them. Some of the braver girls looked at their little birds and the male students compared their sizes. It was obviously a group P, but now it was rumored to be gay. Even the way the students looked at Lung Ao was not right. Lung Ao was probably a member of their group. Lung Ao's thoughts were complicated at this moment. He was obviously cheated on by his good friend and even his brother. He was even rumored to be gay. Damn it, he was the one who suffered the most and was wronged the most. When the two of them came to ask him where Ling Shui went, Lung Ao sneered and beat the two of them up. They still had the nerve to ask him where Ling Shui went. Lung Ao swore that he would never interact with these two bastards again. They were trying to steal his girl behind his back, and now they still had the nerve to ask him. Lung Ao kicked the two people on the ground. He realized that his fighting strength was not bad, but why did he always lose to that violent woman Lin Jiejie? Lung Ao unknowingly walked to the outside of Ning Shu's classroom. He basically came to this classroom every day. In the past, he came to look for Ling Shui. Later on, he came to fight with Lin Jiejie every day. His feet were now habitually coming to this classroom. Lung Ao stood at the door and saw Lin Jiejie through the window. She was reading a book seriously with a serious expression. The sun shone on her body and she looked very peaceful, like an orchid. Ning Shu clearly felt that someone was looking at him. He turned his head and saw Lung Ao outside the window. He frowned. This bastard was probably here to ask where Ling Shui went again. Ning Shu could not understand why Lung Ao came to ask him about Ling Shui every day. He did not know at all. Looking at Lung Ao's attitude, he felt that Ling Shui's disappearance had something to do with her, although it was indeed related. Lung Ao's heart skipped a beat when he saw that he was discovered. He felt a little uncomfortable. He was caught peeping and felt a little embarrassed. However, seeing the other party's impatient face, Lung Ao was angry. He swaggered in front of Ning Shu, raised his chin and looked at Ning Shu condescendingly. "Let me ask you, where did Ling Shui go?" "I said I don't know. Why do you have to ask me? You should ask your two good brothers. It's more reliable than asking me." Lung Ao was a little weak, but he still said, "My intuition tells me that you have something to do with Ling Shui's disappearance. You're a woman. You even have a sixth sense." Although Ling Shui's disappearance was forgotten after people talked about it for a while, for those who had intentions, such as Emo Lingshuan, the underworld boss had never given up. He even wanted to capture Ning Shu and ask about Ling Shui's whereabouts. Knowing that there were people from the underworld outside the school, Ning Shu did not dare to leave the school even more. Lung Ao knew that someone was looking for trouble with Ning Shu. He walked in front of Ning Shu and said arrogantly that if he wanted her to be his girlfriend, he would help her solve the problems outside. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu did not want to have any interaction with the people in this world. As for Lung Ao, he would leave it to the original owner to deal with. She was someone who wanted to leave this world. What made Ning Shu happy was that the school doctor brought news of the original owner's biological parents. It was also a tragedy. The original owner was just a daughter who was sold by her parents. Her family was too poor. They said that a rich man wanted to buy her daughter. Then, she sold her daughter without hesitation. These were the original owner's matters. Ning Shu had already found the original owner's biological father. She was not the original owner, so she would not make decisions for the original owner. Ning Shu felt that the mission was almost completed. He was still thinking about when to leave this world when the system's cold mechanical voice sounded in his head. "Mission completed. Do you want to leave this world?" Ning Shu nodded without hesitation. He was really tired of staying in this world. The mission was really too difficult. If it was not for the school doctor, Ning Shu would not even have a chance to complete the mission. It was completely a trick. Ning Shu could only wish that the school doctor's experiment would go smoothly. Chapter 31. Ning Shu just pressed yes, and then immediately felt the world spinning, and then with a plop, he fell to the ground, dizzy and almost vomited. Ning Shu got up from the ground and looked around. The surroundings were white. She was back in the system space. Ning Shu let out a long sigh. Ning Shu lowered his head and saw that his soul had dimmed a little, and quickly sat down to absorb the matter of this space. Although he did not know what it was, it could strengthen his soul, and Ning Shu did not refuse. Congratulations, player, for returning to the system space. In the system space, the cold mechanical voice of the system sounded. Ning Shu immediately stood up and asked, "Why did my soul become so dim? Does the quest consume soul power?" The player's soul is too weak, so it was affected by the original owner's emotions. The system explained, the mechanical voice. Then is there any way to strengthen the soul? Ning Shu asked again. Ning Shu had a premonition that traveling between worlds like this would consume a lot of the soul, and if the soul was not strengthened, sooner or later it would be exhausted. The market has potions to strengthen the soul, and also secret books to cultivate the soul. Currently you do not have the qualifications to open the market and the exchange system. The system's explanation gave Ning Shu hope, but when he heard that he did not have the qualifications, he felt as if a bucket of cold water was poured over his head. Wait until the player officially becomes a player, then you have the qualifications to open the exchange system. Well, right now she was not even an intern, and should be the smallest cannon fodder. If she died in the quest, then she would completely disappear. Do you want to check the attributes? The system asked. In front of Ning Shu, the attributes panel immediately appeared. Number 23333 name, Ning Shu age, 27 experience, 4000 4000/10,000, soul, 60 life, 50 wisdom, 80 charm. Luck, 20 spirit, 120 force, 10 aptitude, 20 skills, 5 ring spear technique, trash fighting technique honorary title. None. Ning Shu seriously looked at each attribute, and what made Ning Shu surprised was that this time he actually had 4,000 points, probably because he was teleported to an intermediate world, and then he was lucky enough to complete the quest. Sure enough, high risk accompanied high profit. Player is rewarded with 10 attribute points. The system's voice sounded again. Because the player's first quest is an intermediate world, according to the completion of the quest satisfaction, an additional 10 attribute points will be rewarded. Ning Shu thought for a moment and added 1 attribute point to Ning Shu's charm. It was really a pain in the ass. Thinking of his even more pain in his luck, Ning Shu did not hesitate to add 5 attribute points, and then added 4 points to aptitude. Then Ning Shu's attributes panel. Number 23333 name, Ning age, 27 experience, 4000 4000/10,000, soul, 60 life, 50 wisdom, 80 charm, 1 luck, 20 plus 5, force, 120 force, 10 aptitude, 20 plus 4, skills, 5 ring spear technique, trash fighting technique honorary title. None. Ning Shu saw that his charm was finally not a question mark, although it was a lonely 1 point. At least it was not a question mark. Do you want to enter the quest world now? The system asked. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, "Can I enter the world a bit later?" Then the system did not speak again. Ning Shu looked at his soul. Her soul was so dim, if the original owner's emotions were too fluctuating when entering the world, it would affect her. More haste, less speed. Ning Shu felt that it was better to cultivate first. Ning Shu sat down and tried his best to absorb the things in the system space, to enrich his soul. This speed was undoubtedly very slow, but Ning Shu could only do this. What Ning Shu wanted the most now was to be able to cultivate the soul. When will he become an official player? The system space did not have the concept of time. Ning Shu sat on the ground, motionless. After an unknown amount of time, Ning Shu opened her eyes, looked down at her body, and felt that it was more solid. She touched it with her hand, and it felt like she was touching milk, smooth to the touch. Is the system here? I want to start the quest. Ning Shu looked up at the wall in front of her and asked. She did not know where the system was. Ning Shu's voice just fell, and she immediately felt a burst of depression. Damn, can't you let me get ready, at least tell me. Ning Shu fell into a coma. Floating up and down in the darkness, Ning Shu felt that someone was talking beside her. She struggled to open her eyes, and her head was dizzy. She looked at the muslin curtain on the bed for a long time, and her mind was blank. The maid beside her saw that the person on the bed had opened her eyes, and her expression was very excited. She knelt by the bed and repeatedly shouted, "Princess, you're awake." She hurriedly sent someone to call for the imperial physician. Ning Shu turned her head and looked at the excited maid kneeling by the bed. Her hair was tied up in a bun, and there was a pearl flower in the bun. She wore a magnolia blue embroidered satin robe, covered with muslin, and the cleavage in front of her was faintly discernible. Ning Shu felt that her body was very heavy, and her stomach was empty. She did not even have the strength to raise her hand. "Princess, you can't spoil yourself like this." The maid cried and laughed. Ning Shu said with difficulty, "Get me something to eat." The maid wiped the tears from her face, and when she heard that Ning Shu wanted to eat, she was so happy that she almost cried. She lifted her skirt and ran out of the palace. Ning Shu was lying on the bed, and she was so hungry that she felt dizzy. How long had she been hungry? She was going to starve to death. Her mind was in a mess, and then it was blank. Ning Shu wanted to wait until she was full before she received the plot. Hearing the maid call her princess, it seemed that this body was very noble. She did not expect that one day she would be able to enjoy being called a little princess. Not long after, the maid brought in a bowl of congee. There was meat juice and cooked very soft vegetables. When Ning Shu smelled the fragrance, her stomach began to growl. The maid helped Ning Shu up and said to Ning Shu, "Princess, let me feed you." Ning Shu nodded, and the maid's face showed a happy expression. She immediately scooped up a spoonful of congee, blew on it, and fed it to Ning Shu. He did not know how long this body had been hungry. Such a light bowl of congee made his stomach ache. Fortunately, he slowly adapted. Ning Shu ate a bowl and did not eat anymore. The maid helped Ning Shu to lie down. Ning Shu looked at the maid. She was about 15 or 16 years old and looked quite delicate. However, Ning Shu's eyes fell on the maid's chest. The clothing of this era was quite open and sexy. It was completely the Tang dynasty's tube top clothes. When he lowered his head, he could see the cleavage inside. Ning Shu saw that the maid was quite good to this body. She was very respectful and concerned, but she had not received the plot yet. He did not know this maid's character, but looking at her performance just now, she should be quite good. Ning Shu had just laid down when a maid ran into the palace. Probably because she ran in a hurry, her face was bright red, and there was sweat on her small nose. Chapter 32. The maid bowed to Ning Shu on the bed. "Princess, the imperial physician has arrived." In reality, there was nothing wrong with this body. She was just hungry. Now that she had eaten something, she felt much better. Ning Shu had not yet accepted the plot and did not know the original owner's personality. Indifferently, he said, "Both of you leave." The two maids glanced at each other before bowing and exiting the palace hall. Ning Shu's eyes turned, sizing up his surroundings. The palace hall was very spacious. Antique shelves were filled with all sorts of rare playthings. There was an exquisite blue and white porcelain vase with bright flowers. The red sandalwood seat was filled with the scent of incense that slowly drifted out from the ear cauldron, causing one's heart to feel peaceful. Next to the mahogany marble bed was a screen carved with purple purlins and carved with plum blossoms. Every item appeared to be meticulously crafted and appeared to be noble and extraordinary. Just by looking at this room, Ning Shu knew that this princess's days were not bad. What deep hatred did she have to counterattack? What was there that she couldn't let go of? Ning Shu took a deep breath and began to accept the plot. Although he was mentally prepared, his head still throbbed with pain. This body was called Li Shueshan. She was the only princess of the Great Yong dynasty and the only younger sister of the current emperor. The emperor bestowed upon her the title of Princess Jiawei. In addition, she was given the fief of Jinyang. She was favored by the heavens and favored by the earth. Bystanders did not understand why Princess Jiawei was so favored. They only thought that the current emperor favored her out of consideration for kinship. Furthermore, she was his younger sister from the same mother. It was unknown how much Princess Jiawei had sacrificed in the struggle for the throne. She had even risked her life to do anything for the emperor. The struggle for the throne was incomparably bitter. The bloodshed caused the imperial palace to be stained with blood. The emperor was also ruthless, killing all of the defeated princes and grandsons. It was likely that the emperor's ruthlessness had frightened all of the civil and military officials. The emperor's ascension to the throne was unexpectedly smooth. The current emperor was her own brother and the emperor's only relative. Princess Jiawei's hard times had finally come to an end. She was blessed with honor and favor. Even the empress, her sister-in-law, was polite to her. The concubines in the imperial harem were all trying their best to please her. It was reasonable to say that this kind of life would not be changed even by a deity. However, Princess Jia Hui was a woman. Love was something that women yearned for the most, even if Jia Hui was a princess. At this moment, a young and handsome man entered the princess's eyes. Princess Jia Hui didn't like outstanding scholars who pretended to be cultured. After experiencing the cruel struggle for the throne, Jia Hui didn't like men who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Moreover, they were outstanding scholars who applied makeup like women. Only a man like Duan Xinghui could give Jia Hui a sense of security. This young general was handsome and elegant. When he wore his armor and galloped on horseback, there was a kind of breathtaking beauty of power. After interacting with Duan Xinghui a few times, Jia Hui became more and more satisfied with this man. Although he looked serious in speech and manner, he gave off a steady and dependable feeling. Duan Xinghui respected Jia Hui very much. Although he had never made any promises, Jia Hui's impression of him became even better. Jia Hui didn't lack people who flattered her. She valued reality more than empty promises. The emperor knew about this situation, but he didn't directly give an edict. He wanted to investigate whether this Duan Xinghui was worthy of entrusting his sister to him. The relationship between Jia Hui and Duan Xinghui was a secret that no one spoke of. In fact, it was already settled. Coincidentally, the border was restless and the weather was cold. The bearded Xiongnu were about to enter the central plains to rob again. The emperor sent Duan Xinghui to the border and said in high spirits that he would bestow a marriage upon the two of them when he returned from a victorious battle. The battle was in a stalemate when the news of Duan Xinghui's death came from the front lines. When Jia Hui heard the news, she was completely stunned. Then she didn't eat or drink. In the end, the emperor couldn't stand it anymore and forced her to die. After experiencing such pain, Jia Hui's body became worse and worse. Every day, she missed the dead Duan Xinghui. She even wanted to cut off her hair and become a nun. The dead would always remain in her heart, and the mark in her heart would become deeper and deeper until it was irreplaceable. However, not long after, the dead Duan Xinghui came back from the dead and returned to the capital with a woman by his side. When Ning Shu saw this, he understood how things had developed. This favored princess had become the cannon fodder for the love between the general and her true love. Ning Shu sighed deeply and expressed his deep sympathy for the original owner of this body. He said that love was harmful. The rest of the story was nothing more than Jia Hui being unwilling to give up and causing trouble between the two of them. She used her dignity as a princess to take revenge on this unknown village girl. What shocked Jia Hui was that this man, who she had seen as steady, became very agitated when faced with the matter of the village girl. His entire being became lively, angry, and roaring like a young boy. For the sake of that village girl, he disobeyed an imperial edict and declared in front of everyone that he loved that woman the most. Jia Hui felt as if she had been slapped in the face, her face burning. She had practically become the laughingstock of the entire Yong dynasty. The noble princess had actually lost to a village girl. She was unwilling to accept this. What was she? She was a princess. With the pride of a princess, she would not allow such a defeat. Jia Hui retaliated against the village girl. Afterwards, everyone began to question her, even saying that she was vicious and that she had lost face for the court. Even the emperor was disappointed in this younger sister of his. Jia Hui became fiercer and fiercer. Rumors spread throughout the streets that the princess had stolen someone else's man. Jia Hui's reputation became more and more tarnished. Coincidentally, the Hu and Xiongnu won the battle and proudly requested a political marriage. The emperor was truly disappointed in this younger sister of his and sent her away. It was clearly because of Duan Xinghui that the situation of the war had reversed. If it were not for his desire for great merit, he would not have fallen for the schemes of the barbarians in the Central Plains. Now, he wanted her to go through a political marriage and live happily with him. Jia Hui was a delicate princess. In addition, during the time when everyone believed that Duan Xinghui had died, Jia Hui was heartbroken and injured. Her body became ill, and she went to a place with a vile environment. Furthermore, she went to a place where women were not treated as humans. Jia Hui's status as a princess did not bring her any benefits. On the contrary, it caused these barbarians to humiliate her even more. She was a trophy of war. The Xiongnu people were cruel, beating and cursing women at the slightest provocation. Living was a fate worse than death. Jia Hui's heart had already become numb. Her flower-like appearance had been corroded by the wind and sand. She numbly lived, not knowing what she had done wrong. The original owner's wishes were, first, she did not want to love that heartless and unscrupulous Duan Xinghui. Second, she wanted that slut to die a horrible death. Third, she wanted to be a noble and pure princess. She did not want to be covered in filth. She did not want to disappoint her imperial brother. She did not want to be married off to a foreign country. She did not want to be humiliated by others. Ning Shu was speechless. This girl still could not let go of this matter in her heart. Duan Xinghui was the beginning of all of Jia Hui's tragedies. Duan Xinghui was like the key to opening Pandora's box. What made Ning Shu speechless was that she had entered the plot a little late. Now that she had found out about Duan Xinghui's death, Jia Hui was so sad that she did not eat or drink. It was as if she had followed Duan Xinghui into the afterlife. She had already gotten involved with Duan Xinghui. Chapter 33. Lin Jiajia raised her head from the desk with a blank expression. She looked at the teacher on the podium with her mouth open and closed. Her mind was in a daze. Lin Jiajia looked at the seat in front of her reflexively. The woman she hated the most was really gone. Could it be that she was dreaming? Everything in the dream was real. Ling Shui really disappeared from her life. The person in the dream was her, but it wasn't her. She watched everything that happened. When the bell rang, Lin Jiajia stood up from her seat. Coincidentally, the three-legged desk fell to the ground. This was supposed to be an embarrassing thing, but Lin Jiajia didn't know what was going on. She was very calm and slowly lifted the desk up. She looked at the people around her. They glanced at her and looked away. They didn't pay much attention to her. They no longer looked at her with ridicule like before. Their attitude changed from disgust and ridicule to disregard. And Rong, who bullied her before, saw her gaze. She snorted and looked away. Lin Jiajia became more and more confused. Could it be that everything in the dream was real? At this moment, two men suddenly appeared in the classroom. They carried a desk in their hands. The desk was brand new. They walked to Lin Jiajia's seat and placed the new desk on Lin Jiajia's seat. "What are you doing?" Lin Jiajia asked. Her desk was broken a long time ago. She was teased and slashed with a knife. Even one of the table legs was removed. This is the school's arrangement. Your desk is broken. Naturally, it has to be changed. A school staff said. Lin Jiajia pursed her lips. Why didn't she think of it before? Now they were going to change it for her. However, Lin Jiajia knew the current situation and could only say, "Thank you. I asked them to change your desk." Lung Ao put his hands in his pockets and walked to Lin Jiajia, looking down at her. When Lin Jiajia saw Lung Ao, she frowned out of reflex. Lin Jiajia was a little confused about her own reaction. Logically speaking, she should be very excited and happy when she saw Lung Ao. Why was she so disgusted? It was impossible. What do you mean by this? Lin Jiajia didn't know why, but her hands itched. She wanted to fight with Lung Ao and throw him over her shoulder. Lung Ao frowned. Are you unhappy? I prepared a new desk for you. Thank you. Lin Jiajia said indifferently. She raised her head and looked at Lung Ao. He was extremely tall, had a cool and handsome face, and his eyes were bright like the stars in the sky. In her impression, this was the first time she was so close to Lung Ao, but Lin Jiajia did not feel any excitement in her heart. Are you satisfied with this desk? Lung Ao saw Lin Jiajia raise her head and look at her carefully. For some reason, Lung Ao actually felt a little nervous and touched the bridge of his nose. Oh, thank you. Lin Jiajia said coldly. Lung Ao raised his chin and asked, Last time, I asked you to be my girlfriend. What do you think? Girlfriend? When did this happen? Lin Jiajia snorted. She didn't remember at all. Many things had gone off the rails. Ling Shui had disappeared, and now Lung Ao actually wanted her to be his girlfriend. This was something she didn't even dare to think about in the past. Becoming Lung Ao's girlfriend? Lin Jiajia hesitated and didn't say anything. Lung Ao's eyes dimmed and said, Since you don't answer, I'll take it that you agree. From today onwards, you're mine. I didn't agree. Lung Ao, please don't make the decision on your own. Lin Jiajia said coldly. Since when could she speak with such an imposing and cold tone? Lung Ao's expression changed. He looked a little angry and a little sad. Lin Jiajia walked around Lung Ao, who was standing still, and walked out of the classroom. Her mind was a little messy now. Why did the world change after sleeping? As soon as she walked out of the classroom, she saw a man in a white coat leaning against the balcony. His posture was tall and straight, and he looked very abstinent. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and was elegant with a little indifference. When Lin Jiajia saw this person, her heart skipped a beat. Her intuition told her that this man was very dangerous. Lin Jiajia walked around him and prepared to go to the toilet. A hand reached out and pulled Lin Jiajia. Lin Jiajia turned around and looked at him and shouted, "School doctor." This was the school doctor. The school doctor squinted his eyes and looked at Lin Jiajia. His eyes shone with a deep probing gaze. He inspected her face inch by inch as if he was looking for something. "What's the matter?" Lin Jiajia asked. The school doctor looked at Lin Jiajia. Her expression was cold. She didn't have the carefree smile from before. She even had a fawning smile. The school doctor let go of Lin Jiajia's arm and asked calmly, "You're not her." "What?" Lin Jiajia felt a little confused. The school doctor's eyes were extremely cold. Then, he curled his lips and smiled. "I got the wrong person." With that he left. Lin Jiajia looked at the school doctor's back. The corner of her white coat was flipped up. Lin Jiajia shook her head. She needed to calm down. What happened next made Lin Jiajia even more speechless. Her father heard that Lung Ao wanted her to be his girlfriend and now wanted to bring her back to the Lin family. What was this? He chased her out and now wanted to bring her back. Lin Jiajia didn't think about the Lin family anymore. Although she was alone now, she felt very comfortable and supported herself. At this time, he played the family card with her and told her how helpless he was at that time. Lin Jiajia just smiled. When he didn't need her, he would use her as a shield. She still kept the newspaper that broke off their relationship. Lin Jiajia didn't know who had visited her body, but she was sincerely grateful to that person. She never thought that one day her life would be so free. She didn't have to listen to her father talk about how she had to do everything for the family. She wasn't their biological parent at all. It was just that the Lin couple had been married for a long time and didn't have a child. There was a superstitious saying that if a child was adopted first, it would naturally be a blessing to have a child. Lin Jiajia was this adopted child. Since she was chased out of the family, she naturally wouldn't go back. Since a school didn't expel her, she would continue to attend school. Lin Jiajia smiled. When did she become so thick-skinned? She was clearly an orphan, but she was still attending classes in an aristocratic school. Ever since she rejected Lung Ao started to pursue Lin Jiajia. Ugh, sometimes this person was so annoying that he would throw her over his shoulder. However, Lung Ao seemed to be very familiar with this way of getting along. There was no dissatisfaction on his face. Lin Jiajia was speechless. Could it be that Lung Ao liked this kind of attitude? She was respectful to him but acted like a tsundere. Now, she was cold and arrogant to him. She hit him for no reason and he actually liked it. Wasn't this asking for trouble? Lin Jiajia's expression was very strange. Could it be that too many people complimented him so he was happy when someone hit him? He was really sick. Chapter 34. After receiving the storyline, Ning Shu felt dizzy and his heart ached. It seemed that this body's heart had been injured. Ning Shu sighed. As someone who once treated the hospital as his home, nothing was more important than a healthy body. Why did he have to hurt himself like this? As for the original owner's wish, to not love that heartless woman, Ning Shu could do it. As for taking revenge on this pair of bitches, Ning Shu felt that the original owner's arrogance made him unable to let go of this matter. As for not being married, he could only take one step at a time. Ning Shu felt that this mission was easier than the previous world's mission. At least there wouldn't be a supernatural existence like Ling Shui that exceeded the limits of this world. Moreover, she was a princess of a country. Her status was quite high. Compared to a general and a village girl, she had quite an advantage. Ning Shu fell asleep while thinking. This body was really too weak. Ning Shu was speechless. The time he entered the time mission was so difficult. He didn't know how long he slept. When Ning Shu woke up, he felt that his body was sticky with sweat. He struggled to open his eyes. When he turned his eyes, he saw the person sitting by the bed. It was silent. Ning Shu was shocked. He couldn't help but cry out. His heart was about to jump out. When the man saw that Ning Shu was frightened, he lightly said, "You're awake." Imperial brother. Ning Shu struggled to get up. From the original owner's memory, this man should be the current emperor, Li Wen. His name sounded warm, but it didn't match his temperament. His face was very cold and dignified. Li Wen wore a 5-clawed golden dragon robe. Li Wen was very handsome. His features were picturesque, firm as ice, and translucent as glass. The might of his high position added a layer of indifference to his face. He was indifferent, proud, and extraordinarily noble. He was a man that no woman could escape from his charm. In short, he was an iceberg. Even when facing the original owner's younger sister, he didn't smile much. He gave the original owner extraordinary status and material things. Li Wen was a natural-born talent for the emperor. His methods were impressive and he was serious in speech and manner. No one could pry into his thoughts. In the face of such a person, Ning Shu felt a little uneasy. His body unconsciously tensed up, and he keenly felt that the person in front of him was very dangerous. He was like a lion king licking its claws. "Just lie down," Li Wen faintly said. His eyes swept over Ning Shu's face and paused for a moment before continuing. "This matter has yet to be decided. You shouldn't ruin your own body like this." As he spoke, Li Wen furrowed his handsome brows and looked at his sister's forehead that was covered in cold sweat. Even her hair was wet. He softened his voice and said, "Jiahui, don't be willful." The cold sweat on Ning Shu's forehead increased. He was speechless. Her future husband had died, and she was actually being willful. Ning Shu opened his mouth and finally said, "Jiahui knows." Jiahui was the original owner's title. "Men!" Li Wen shouted towards the door. His voice was deep and sexy, but it was also cold and majestic. It made people unable to have any thoughts of resistance. 2 maids immediately came in. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. One was Miao Qing, the other was Yuan Dong. These 2 were the original owner's closest people. They were also interesting people. In short, the situation was a bit funny. Li Wen said to the 2 maids in an indifferent tone, "Take good care of the princess." Miao Qing and Yuan Dong said in unison. Li Wen seemed to be very busy with government affairs. After routinely showing concern for Ning Shu, he left. Ning Shu basically didn't say anything. It was unknown whether Li Wen had noticed her abnormality. Yuan Dong walked up and saw that Ning Shu's head was covered in sweat. She immediately drew some water to wipe Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu looked at her. This girl was not bad-looking. It was a pity that she was a scheming person. However, she was someone who had always been by his side. Ning Shu said to Miao Qing, who was arranging the quilt for Ning Shu, "I want to eat." Miao Qing gave a crisp sigh and went out to prepare food for Ning Shu. Ning Shu watched her leave the palace like a butterfly. A light flashed in his eyes. This Miao Qing had eventually become Li Wen's concubine. Ning Shu then looked at Yuan Dong. This girl had followed along in the political marriage and became the plaything of the Xiongnu barbarians. Of course, this didn't mean that this girl was loyal to the original owner. Instead, this girl had fallen in love with Duan Xinghui. Duan Xinghui ended up falling in love with a village girl. This broke Yuan Dong's wish to become Duan Xinghui's concubine maid. Although he was a prince, women would always prepare concubine maids for men. Fortunately, during menstruation or pregnancy, other women would serve the man. Jiahui and Yuan Dong worked together to deal with the village girl. It was said that the village girl's name was Arya. It was a very rustic name. Later, it was changed to a very pleasant-sounding name. After a while, Miao Qing came up with food. It was a relatively light food. Ning Shu wouldn't be like the original owner, who would spoil his body. Having a healthy body was more important than anything else. Miao Qing fed Ning Shu food. Ning Shu didn't hold back at all. This way he would get better. After eating a bowl of 10 brocade kanji, Miao Qing took out a handkerchief and wiped Ning Shu's mouth. Ning Shu saw that these girls had taken good care of the original owner. But in the end, they all betrayed their master because of love. After eating, Ning Shu closed his eyes and went to sleep. When a person was sleeping, they could automatically repair their body. Now, Ning Shu needed a healthy body to complete his task. He hated people who spoiled their body the most. They didn't cherish their body. At night, Li Wen came again. He stood by the bed without making a sound, which scared Ning Shu. "Imperial brother. Is your body better?" Li Wen looked at Ning Shu and saw that his complexion was better. He nodded and said, "It's better than this morning." "Thank you for your concern, Imperial brother." Ning Shu showed a grateful expression. Li Wen didn't say anything and the atmosphere became silent. Ning Shu didn't know what to say. The more she said, the more mistakes she would make. It wouldn't be good if she exposed herself. The man in front of her was very dangerous. His deep eyes made her feel like they were going to tear her apart. Ning Shu was not used to it. "Hurry up and leave. Why are you standing there like a wooden stick?" Of course, Ning Shu only dared to say this in his heart. He didn't dare to challenge the mood of a feudal emperor. Ning Shu asked himself if he had the guts to do so. Neither of them spoke. Ning Shu raised his head and looked at Li Wen. He slightly narrowed his eyes, which made him look very sharp. Ning Shu's heart was bitter. What was he trying to do? He didn't say anything and just stood there, making Ning Shu feel uncomfortable. In the end, Ning Shu couldn't hold it in. He took the lead and said, "Imperial brother, you go to your work. Jiahui is fine." Chapter 35. Hearing Ning Shu tactfully asking him to leave, Li Wen narrowed his deep eyes and said faintly, "Zhen will leave. Take care of your body. Without Duan Xinghui, there are other men." In the plot, Li Wen also said this, but Princess Jiahui only said that there was only one Duan Xinghui in this world, causing Li Wen to choke. Ning Shu naturally would not say this. If she annoyed Li Wen, he would directly have her marry. She would not even have a place to cry. Ning Shu's face showed unsuppressible sadness. She respectfully said to Li Wen, "Imperial brother, Jiahui's mind is in a mess. Jiahui does not want to think about anything." Hearing this, Li Wen's eyes narrowed. She didn't know why, but every time she saw Li Wen's narrowed eyes, Ning Shu had a feeling of fear and trepidation. She had already tried her best to imitate the expressions and habits of the original owner. Li Wen nodded and looked condescendingly at Ning Shu. He said, "If there is anything you need, I will have your imperial sister-in-law send it over." Then he knocked on the two maids beside him. "Serve the princess well." The two maids replied in unison. However, Miao Qing's eyes were already glued to Li Wen's body. Only when Li Wen left Orchid Palace Hall did she withdraw her gaze. Ning Shu watched from the side and shook his head. It was also because the original owner did not pay attention to the two maids beside him. He did not know that one liked his older brother and the other liked his future husband. It felt so bitter. In the following days, Ning Shu peacefully and steadily lived a life of recuperation. However, only now did Ning Shu truly understand how much the original owner was favored. Every day, there were concubines that came to visit him. The gifts he received were counted in baskets. They were all precious jewels, handkerchiefs personally embroidered by the concubines, or shoes. In any case, it was all kinds of things. Of course, Ning Shu wouldn't meet these people. She wasn't even in good health. She wouldn't force herself to meet these people. After all, there were too many women in the imperial harem. She didn't know any of the women in His Majesty's harem. Ning Shu looked at Miao Qing and Yuan Dong as if they were used to it, and there was a faint disdain for these concubines. It was just two maids, but they actually disdained these concubines. Ning Shu knew what the original owner's attitude towards these concubines was. He probably also looked down on them. "Princess, this servant will put these things in the storage," Ning Shu said. After glancing at Ning Shu's expression, Miao Qing hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Princess, these people just want to use Princess to meet His Majesty. They want to use His Majesty's favor to gain His Majesty's favor." The original owner and Ning Shu both understood this matter. They needed a maid to say this every day. The original owner, Princess Joey, thought that Miao Qing was the best because the original owner thought so. Miao Qing liked Li Wen. Because of the original owner, Miao Qing had more chances to see His Majesty than most of the concubines in the imperial harem. Miao Qing said this because she was unhappy and jealous of these concubines. Ning Shu looked at her indifferently. He didn't agree with her as usual. Every time the original owner heard Miao Qing say this, he would be very angry. He was angry that these women were using him. Miao Qing saw that the princess didn't pay attention to her. She felt suffocated and put the things in the storage. Ning Shu saw that Miao Qing was tactful. In the end, the women in the imperial harem weren't ordinary. If it was someone else, they would continue to sow discord. However, Miao Qing knew when to stop. Ning Shu felt that the original owner wasn't that simple. From the path of fighting for the throne, she took the lead to do things for Li Wen. She had seen many dark things. However, she was stupid. She had offended all the women in the imperial harem. In the end, she was arrogant. She looked down on the women in the imperial harem who relied on men. So much so that no one spoke up for her during the marriage. Everyone agreed to let her go. It was quite hard for her to have such a bad relationship with people. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, "Record these and return the gifts according to the usual standards." Miao Qing and Yuan Dong, who were packing the things, were stunned. The princess never returned the gifts. Now that she suddenly wanted to return the gifts, Miao Qing and Yuan Dong didn't know how to react. After all, the two of them were palace maids. They were stunned for a moment before they reacted. The relationship between people was about reciprocation. The original owner only accepted the gifts and didn't return the gifts. This meant that he didn't want to interact with these women and offended them. He was also capricious. The women in the imperial harem gritted their teeth and cursed, but they couldn't do anything to the original owner. Everyone kicks a man when he is down. The original owner ended up like that because of many reasons. "Princess, do you really want to return the gifts?" Miao Qing asked. "This is giving them face." Ning Shu glanced at her and didn't say anything, but it made Miao Qing feel uneasy. She and Yuan Dong had seen how heartbroken the princess was before, but now the princess was so calm that it was frightening. Could it be that she had gone crazy? Of course, such thoughts could only be said in their hearts. Although the two maids were unwilling, their work was done quickly. They soon returned the gifts to the people in the imperial harem. The imperial concubines were surprised and shocked by Princess Joey's return of gifts. They had all kinds of complicated thoughts. Ning Shu was thinking about whether he should go to find Duan Xinghui. This idea was rejected by Ning Shu as soon as it appeared. At this time, Duan Xinghui should have been rescued by Arya. What was the use of her going there? Besides, if a princess went out, she would be accompanied by a large group of people. Even if she arrived at the border, it would be too late. The two of them were truly in love, and fate would bind them tightly together. Duan Xinghui and Arya had an illicit relationship. Arya took care of the injured Duan Xinghui. There would be physical contact between the two. After a long time, love would grow. In short, the two fell in love. It was true love. The real task was to wait until Duan Xinghui took Arya back to the capital. Then during this time, she should take good care of her body and make a good impression on Emperor Li Wen. Since he didn't want to be married, he should have his own value. What could she do for Li Wen? There were too many people who did things like serving tea. The effect of making a good impression and deepening the relationship between brother and sister was minimal. It was okay to do it occasionally. Ning Shu was seriously recuperating, but there was no smile on his face. Miao Qing and Yuan Dong, who served Ning Shu, were surprised and trembling. Every time they spoke, they were careful. Miao Qing didn't dare to provoke Ning Shu at this time. Ning Shu noticed that Yuan Dong's eyes were a little red. Every time Ning Shu asked, Yuan Dong said that she was confused and had trachoma. Ning Shu looked at Miao Qing and Yuan Dong meaningfully. The deep eyes made the two maids more and more nervous. They only felt that the princess's eyes could see through everything and knew the deepest secrets in their hearts. Miao Qing and Yuan Dong served Ning Shu more carefully and considerately. They did everything to make Ning Shu's life very comfortable, which Ning Shu didn't expect. Chapter 36. Ning Shu recuperated for half a month. His body was very well nourished. His complexion was very good and he did not look sad at all. When they heard that Princess Jiahui's body had recovered, the concubines in the harem swarmed over to see the princess. Ning Shu saw these concubines. Ning Shu rubbed his head and looked at the room full of beauties. The room full of beauties had all kinds of fragrances mixed together. It was so fragrant that it made his head hurt. These concubines had different styles and temperaments. They were enchanting and charming, pure and noble, gentle and virtuous. There were all kinds of women. Li Wen was really lucky. There were so many women and so many beauties waiting for him to take care of them. Ning Shu understood that these concubines came to the Orchid Garden Hall to see Li Wen. Although these concubines tried their best to find topics to talk about and were concerned about her body, their eyes were constantly looking outside the hall. Ning Shu did not point it out. She had just arrived in this world, so it was necessary to understand the situation in the palace. From the words of these concubines, she could tell which concubines were favored and which were not. She could also tell from the tit-for-tat between the concubines that there was enmity between these concubines. She could also tell which factions they belonged to. The emperor has arrived. A sharp voice sounded from outside the hall. It was very unpleasant to hear, but to the women in the room, it was like a good rain. They were all full of energy and their faces were glowing. When Li Wen walked into the hall, Ning Shu immediately felt a gust of cold air. This guy was really cold. Greetings to the emperor. The women in the room all bowed to Li Wen. Their movements were very charming and their voices could be squeezed out. They faced Li Wen with their best posture. Some of the bolder ones even pretended to unconsciously reveal their plump snow-white breasts. Competing in beauty. Ning Shu looked at the beautiful women in the room and was secretly speechless. Any woman in the modern world would be sought after by men. Now they were all cooped up in this square place to compete for a man. It was simply a waste of resources. Li Wen said in a low voice with an indifferent and cold face to the women in the room. A concubine who was close to Li Wen deliberately staggered and wanted to fall into Li Wen's arms. However, Li Wen dodged and that concubine almost fell to the ground and made a fool of herself. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. This emperor's personality was really bad. What was wrong with helping his own woman? Besides, it was a woman who was fawning on him, and such a beautiful woman at that. Who knew how happy he was in his heart? Li Wen did not even look at these concubines. She looked at Ning Shu and said indifferently, "It seems that you have recovered well?" Ning Shu bowed. "Thank you for your concern, imperial brother. Jiahui is much better now." Li Wen nodded his head, his expression indifferent. Without Duan Xinghui, there are still other good men in Great Yong. You are Zhen's younger sister. Ning Shu automatically interpreted it as, "You are my younger sister. I can choose any man in the world." Ning Shu's brows revealed a sad expression. Gratefully, he said to Li Wen, "Thank you, imperial brother, for your concern. It is just that imperial sister does not want to think about these things right now." Li Wen's sharp eyes stared at Ning Shu, his gaze scanning Ning Shu's face. Afterwards, he nodded his head and made a sound of acknowledgement. He did not say anything else, sitting in his chair for a while before leaving. "Your Imperial Majesty rises." Grand Eunuch Jiang Gonggong, who was beside Li Wen, sang out in a sharp and melodious voice. After Li Wen left, everyone's gazes focused on Ning Shu. Ning Shu keenly sensed that everyone's gazes were on him. They carried envy, jealousy, and a few extreme hatred. Ning Shu looked over and saw a woman dressed in a purple silk robe embroidered with cloud patterns. Her expression was arrogant and sharp, and her eyes were filled with undisguised jealousy and disgust. Ning Shu thought for a moment, then curled his lips at the woman. This woman was Imperial Concubine Du. The grudge between Imperial Concubine Du and the original host was because of the Empress. In the original host's heart, there was only one sister-in-law, which was the Empress. He disdained other women. The Empress and Imperial Concubine Du were evenly matched. But because of the original host, the Empress had the upper hand. Imperial Concubine Du had never had a good impression of Princess Jiahui. She came to Orchid Palace Hall only because all the concubines in the harem had come. If she did not come, it would be unreasonable. This was done for Li Wen to see. Li Wen now doted on his younger sister. Even if he wanted to play tricks, he would be harmonious in front of the emperor. Ning Shu could not help but rub his forehead. He felt a headache. The original host was an unmarried woman. Was it really good for him to get involved in his brother's harem? It was a fight between the harem and the harem. Staying out of it was the best choice. Imperial concubine Du was partly involved in the political marriage. That was why the original host had such a sad ending. To put it bluntly, the original host was an idiot. Another part of it was that she disdained to do so. The original host was not a bad person. Her mind was very simple. It was just that she was too proud. Noble consort Du is looking at Ben Gong like this because Ben Gong talked to Imperial brother but didn't talk to you. Is that why you are so angry? Ning Shuhan said without hesitation, speaking whatever was on her mind. Imperial concubine Du. The expression on Imperial concubine Du's face almost froze. This idiot really said whatever he wanted to say. Living in the harem was particular about how many turns one sentence had to take. Not only was Imperial concubine Du not used to such straightforward words, but everyone else was also not used to it. The expression on everyone's face was embarrassed. They all left. Shen Qingqing's words were too straightforward. It was so straightforward that everyone was embarrassed. Ning Shu looked at Imperial concubine Du's angry back and smiled. There was no way to reconcile between him and Imperial concubine Du in this case. It was better to tear off the mask of tenderness. At least these people would have scruples when they wanted to make a move. Ning Shu thought about it and decided to visit the Empress's sister-in-law. The original host would usually talk to this sister-in-law. The relationship between the two was not bad. But there was no real friendship in the harem. Not to mention sister-in-law and sister-in-law. Arriving at the hall of Feng Lan, the palace of the Imperial Palace, Ning Shu walked into the hall and saw her sitting on a couch made of yellow rosewood and pear serpentine stones. Behind her was a glass screen made of wood and primrose. Seeing Ning Shu coming, the Empress quickly stood up. Ning Shu walked over. Ning Shu saluted the Empress. Greetings to Imperial sister-in-law. The Empress quickly pulled Ning Shu's hand and held Ning Shu's hand. Her face showed a gentle smile. Joey, you really scared your sister-in-law. Your Imperial brother told me to take good care of you. Thank you, Imperial sister-in-law. Jiahui is almost recovered. Ning Shu said. Chapter 37. The Empress said a lot of words of concern to Ning Shu. She wanted to express her concern for her sister-in-law. Ning Shu also chatted with the Empress for a while. The two of them talked about irrelevant things. Then the Empress talked about how hard it was for her to manage the imperial harem. She also talked about the concubines. To put it bluntly, the Empress was complaining to Ning Shu. There was no one in the imperial harem who was not afraid of Li Wen. The Empress was urging Ning Shu to complain to Li Wen. The Empress's words were full of twists and turns. However, she was able to provoke Ning Shu's disgust for the concubines. The original owner of the body was an errand boy for the Empress. She also said that the original owner of the body was very suitable to be cannon fodder. Emperor Li Wen also used the original owner of the body. After he succeeded, he gave the original owner of the body a noble status. However, the Empress used the original owner of the body and did not gain anything. He felt that there were dangers everywhere in the palace. Ning Shu's task was Duan Xinghui and area. As for the others, Ning Shu did not want to care about them. Ning Shu also saw that the people in the palace could not help him at all. When the time came for the marriage, it would be good if these people did not hit him when he was down. Ning Shu was thinking about whether he should leave the palace. Jiawei, what are you thinking about? The Empress saw that the other party was absent-minded after she had said so much. She was not as indignant as before and went to find the Emperor. As a woman, no one was willing to share their husband with others. However, her position made it impossible for her to be willful. She was the mother of the country. She had to be virtuous and magnanimous. She also had to manage these women for the Emperor so that the Emperor would not have any worries. The Empress looked at these orioles and swallows. Her heart was in great pain. However, in order to satisfy the Emperor, She really paid a lot. However, the emperor was still cold and indifferent to her. The empress not only hated the women in the imperial harem, but also envied the princess. Li Wen's attitude towards her was much better. Even she, the empress, did not enjoy such treatment. This person has already passed away. Jiahui, you must take care of your body. You are the emperor's younger sister and the only princess of Great Yong. There are many good men for you to choose from. The empress comforted Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't know if it was her imagination, but she could actually hear a hint of jealousy in the empress' tone. Ning Shu felt a little bored. He glanced at the empress. To be honest, the empress' appearance wasn't bad, but she had to maintain her dignity as the empress at all times. She looked a little cold. Deliberately putting on the airs of the empress, it shows that the empress's heart is very weak, so she will be so strong to show her status. The original host felt that this kind of empress was to her temperament. She was hostile to these imperial concubines and felt that her empress sister-in-law was wronged. Now it seemed that the empress was just using the sympathy of the original owner to gain sympathy and trust. Like the original owner, Ning Shu complained to the empress. Imperial sister-in-law, my heart is very uncomfortable. Why did he leave and not return? Ning Shu used a handkerchief to wipe the corners of her eyes as she looked at the empress' expression. The empress' eyes flashed with joy and satisfaction, but the expression on her face was as if she felt the same pain. She repeatedly comforted Ning Shu. Ning Shu's mind was firm on one idea. She wanted to leave the palace. This imperial harem was filled with Li Wen's imperial concubines. If she stayed here and mixed with these sisters-in-law, it would be too tiring. These imperial concubines either loathed, feared, tried to curry favor, or tried to rope her in. Li Wen's love for the original host was destined to involve her in the affairs of the imperial harem. She did not have the energy to deal with these women. The final decision of the marriage was still in Li Wen's hands. Rather than trying to curry favor with the empress, it was better to put her energy on Li Wen. Also, the empress was not as good as she appeared. She was just a person with a sweet face but a bitter heart. Ning Shu chatted with the empress for a while and then used a handkerchief to wipe her tears. She took Miao Qing and Yuan Dong back to her own palace. You two, pack up everything in the storeroom, Ning Shu said to the two of them. Pack everything up, not leaving a single item behind. Yuan Dong and Miao Qing looked at each other. Miao Qing glanced at Ning Shu and bent to ask, Princess, what are we packing up for? There are many things in the princess storeroom, do we have to pack them all up? Ning Shu glanced at her and said lightly, Don't leave a single needle behind. Being swept by the princess with such a cold gaze, Miao Qing's heart jumped. Ever since the princess woke up, the princess had become incomprehensible. There was no sadness on her face. She was so calm that it was frightening. The princess' pained expression was still vivid in her mind. Yes. Miao Qing did not dare to ask any more. Miao Qing brought the palace maids to pack up while Ning Shu went to find Li Wen. When he saw Li Wen was reviewing memorials. When he saw Ning Shu, he put down the cinnabar pen in his hand and closed the memorials. His movements were incomparably elegant. Just based on Li Wen's appearance, no woman could escape his charm. However, when Ning Shu faced Li Wen, he did not notice how handsome he was at all. He had a strong fear and guilty conscience. The biggest reason for leaving the palace was to stay away from Li Wen. This person was too dangerous. His thoughts were too deep. He could not understand him at all. Ning Shu even suspected that he had been seen through by this person. Why are you looking for Zhen? Li Wen asked indifferently. Ning Shu organized his words and showed some sadness on his face. Imperial brother, imperial sister wants to leave the palace. Li Wen was stunned for a moment. His face showed a smile that was not a smile. When Ning Shu saw the fake smile on his face, his heart jumped. What was the meaning of this smile? Ning Shu's face twitched. His lips trembled. Imperial brother, imperial sister wants to go out and relax. Li Wen picked up the teacup and took a sip. Then he put it down again. He did not speak. Ning Shu's heart was burning. On his face, he still had to show an "I'm very sad, I'm very tired" expression. Ning Shu almost could not hold it anymore. Li Wen finally spoke. "Where do you plan to live?" "Imperial sister wants to go to the manor." Ning Shu looked at Li Wen's face and carefully said. This guy was really a block of ice. He did not have any expression at all. Ning Shu did not know if he agreed or not. Li Wen did not nod or shake his head. He only said, "The manor is too far away. It's not safe. Your princess residence has already been built. Go live in the princess residence." Ning Shu's face twitched. This princess residence was very close to Duan Xinghui's residence, the Duan family. She really did not want to live in the princess residence. However, she had no choice at all. The status of a princess was noble, but all the glory and honor could be taken away by Li Wen with a single sentence. Could life be any more bitter? How could he get a good impression of this ice cube face? How could he deepen the relationship between the two of them? Ning Shu's mind was in a mess. He did not dare to meet Li Wen's eyes. Chapter 38. Ning Shu had no choice but to live in the princess's palace. If she continued to bargain with Li Wen and angered Li Wen, she wouldn't be able to find a place to cry. At least once she left the palace, she wouldn't have to be involved in the affairs of the harem. Chen Mei thanks Imperial Brother for his grace. Ning Shu bowed to Li Wen and prepared to leave. If she could avoid contact with Li Wen, she would. Wait a moment. Li Wen called out to Ning Shu. Ning Shu turned around to look at Li Wen. Li Wen lightly said, "Come and grind the ink." Ning Shu made a no sound. She walked over and rolled up her sleeves. She added some water to the inkstone and picked up the cinnabar inkstone to grind. Ning Shu's heart was filled with doubt. She had never grinded ink before. This was a skill from the original owner's memories. Fortunately, although her movements were unfamiliar, she slowly became proficient. Li Wen glanced at her. Seeing Li Wen look over, Ning Shu immediately grinned at Li Wen. Li Wen moved his gaze away and placed it on the memorial in front of him. He picked up the cinnabar brush and drew circles on the memorial. Ning Shu didn't dare look around. She lowered her head and looked at the inkstone. The study was silent. There was only the sound of grinding ink. Ning Shu's heart was filled with bitterness. She wanted to leave. She wanted to stay by Li Wen's side. The hairs on her body stood up and she had goosebumps. In the previous world, he didn't even have such a feeling when facing Ling Shui. Facing Li Wen, he couldn't even touch his heart. He couldn't even tell what kind of emotions he was feeling, whether he was happy or unhappy, angry or happy. Even the original owner couldn't see her biological brother clearly. In Ning Shu's view, Li Wen was a person who had lost the emotions that a human should have. He was too deep. "Why do you suddenly want to leave the palace?" Li Wen suddenly said. Ning Shu was thinking about something when he was startled by Li Wen's sudden voice. His hands suddenly stopped, and some of the cinnabar in the inkstones splashed out. Some splashed on Li Wen's body, and some splashed on the memorial in front of Li Wen. Ning Shu's expression changed. The little person in his heart screamed, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." Ning Shu hurriedly took out a handkerchief and wiped the red dots on the memorial with a flattering expression. Then, he wanted to wipe the cinnabar on Li Wen's clothes. Li Wen used his hand to block Ning Shu's movement and put down the cinnabar brush with an indifferent expression. Ning Shu's heart quickly jumped twice. He walked around the desk and bowed to Li Wen. "Chen Mei didn't do it on purpose. I hope Imperial Brother can forgive her." Li Wen's brows twitched as he coldly asked, "What are you thinking about? Why are you so absent-minded?" "I'm thinking about Duan Xinghui." Ning Shu didn't even think about it and pulled Duan Xinghui out to take the blame. Li Wen's face was still expressionless. Ning Shu seriously suspected that this guy had facial paralysis and that all the nerves on his face were dead. "I ask you, why do you suddenly want to leave the palace? Did someone in the palace make trouble for you?" Li Wen didn't answer Ning Shu's question. Instead, he asked the question he had asked before. "Chen Mei wants a change of environment." Ning Shu honestly said. Li Wen didn't say anything. Ning Shu waved his hand and had her leave. Ning Shu left like he had been granted amnesty. He left the royal study. When he stepped out of the doorway, he let out a heavy breath. No matter what, his goal had been achieved. Li Wei looked at Ning Shu's panicked back and narrowed his eyes. There was a deep and turbulent feeling in his eyes. Ning Shu's body was covered in cold sweat. When he returned to the Orchid Garden Palace, he first took a bath. Then he asked Miao Qing, "How is the packing?" Miao Qing promptly curtsied and said, "Princess, it has already been packed." Miao Qing gathered her courage and asked, "Where does the princess wish to go?" Shen Qingqing glanced at Miao Qing and said, "This princess wishes to leave the palace and live in the princess residence." Ning Shu then saw Miao Qing's expression change. Her face first paled, then became anxious. Ning Shu asked, "Why does the princess suddenly wish to leave the palace?" "The princess is a noble princess of the great Yong dynasty. You should live in the most prestigious place in the world. Only then would you be worthy of the princess status." TSK, noble or not, it all depended on Li Wen's words. Ning Shu saw that Miao Qing's face was covered in sweat. Her face was bright red, and her entire person was incomparably beautiful. How could Miao Qing not be anxious? She could only see the emperor in the imperial palace. If she left the imperial palace, would she still be able to see the emperor? Miao Qing was extremely anxious, but she didn't know how to persuade the princess. She could only look at the princess anxiously. Ning Shu ignored Miao Qing's gaze and prepared to go check on the packing. He looked at the boxes and chests in the storeroom. There were more than a dozen boxes, all of which were filled with rare items. This princess was truly wealthy. Miao Qing followed by Ning Shu's side. She really couldn't bear to leave the imperial palace. She asked, "Princess, how long will you stay outside the imperial palace?" Ning Shu looked at Miao Qing and replied, "If nothing unexpected happens, it will be a lifetime." Hearing this, Miao Qing's body swayed, her face bitter. "Princess, living in the imperial palace is so comfortable." Ning Shu ignored her, concentrating on looking at the items in the chests. There were several chests filled with all kinds of books. During dinner, the empress led a large group of people and an enormous ceremonial procession. Even Li Wen didn't have such a large entourage. She arrived at the Orchid Garden Palace Hall. Seeing Ning Shu, the empress had a look of reluctance on her face. Pulling on Ning Shu's hand, she said with concern and displeasure, "Jiawei, why do you want to leave the imperial palace? Is your sister-in-law not taking good care of you? You are the emperor's younger sister, Princess Jiawei of the Great Yong dynasty. How can you not live in the imperial palace?" Ning Shu saw the reluctance on the empress' face and knew that the empress was truly reluctant to part with her vanguard. Ning Shu perfunctorily replied to the empress, "Imperial sister-in-law, my heart is really uncomfortable. I want a change of environment. Jiahui will often enter the imperial palace to see imperial sister-in-law." Seeing that Jiahui had steeled her heart to leave, the empress' smile faded. Worry appeared between her brows. It was clear that she was thinking about the changes in the imperial palace after her sister-in-law left. "Child, if you are in a better mood, then return to the imperial palace. You are a girl. How can you not return home?" The empress perfunctorily replied before leaving. After the empress left, the concubines of the imperial harem swarmed over to find Ning Shu. They were all asking if Ning Shu was truly moving out of the imperial palace. With regards to the princess leaving the imperial palace, the majority of the concubines were in a good mood. After all, there was one less person to distract the emperor. Perhaps the emperor would turn his attention to them. The concubines all expressed their blessings to Ning Shu and gave him some gifts. Ning Shu unceremoniously accepted the gifts. Faced with the hypocritical concern and urging of these concubines to stay, Ning Shu directly said that he was tired and saw them out. Yuan Dong's and Miao Qing's reactions were completely different. Miao Qing did not want to leave the imperial palace at all. However, as the princess' personal maid, she had to stay by the princess' side. Miao Qing was so anxious that blisters appeared on her lips. On the other hand, Yuan Dong had an indifferent attitude. Ning Shu saw this and did not say anything. He would allow Miao Qing to stay in the imperial palace as she wished. Chapter 39. The next day, Ning Shu woke up early in the morning. Miao Qing was helping her freshen up. Ning Shu looked through the mirror and saw that Miao Qing was in a trance. Her eyes were red and she could not hide the anxiety in her eyes. There were dark circles under her eyes. It seemed that she did not sleep well last night. Ning Shu stroked her hair and said, "Put on the phoenix hairpin for Ben Gong." Miao Qing was stunned for a moment before asking, "Princess, is it the white jade plum blossom victory hairpin?" Ning Shu nodded. How could she remember such a long name? Miao Qing immediately took out the phoenix hairpin from the makeup box and inserted it into Ning Shu's hair. After packing up everything, Ning Shu walked out of Orchid Palace Hall. She saw dozens of guards carrying boxes in the palace. These boxes were all the things of the original owner of the body. Everything in the palace was packed up. There were not too many things. Miao Qing's beautiful face was about to cramp. After leaving the palace, how was she going to see the emperor? Ning Shu looked back at her and said faintly, "Miao Qing, you stay in Orchid Palace Hall and take care of it." He wanted her to look after the house. Miao Qing's face was first happy and then bitter. Although she stayed in the palace, she might not be able to see the emperor. Without the princess, would the emperor still come to Orchid Palace Hall? Ning Shu did not pay attention to Miao Qing's complicated thoughts and brought Yuan Dong out of Orchid Palace Hall. Yuan Dong looked back and saw Miao Qing leaning against the door. She felt a little sad. Ning Shu first went to bid farewell to Li Wen. At the palace gate, Li Wen was already waiting. Beside Li Wen stood the empress, who was wearing a bright yellow robe embroidered with a phoenix. Behind her, there was a large group of orioles and swallows. They were all here to send off the princess. Ning Shu quickly walked over and had the emperor wait for her. Moreover, it was Li Wen who was waiting for her. Ning Shu was a little alarmed. She walked over and bowed to Li Wen, Chen Magritte's imperial brother. Li Wen nodded and looked at Ning Shu from head to toe. Then he looked at the team behind Ning Shu and asked, "Are you done? From the looks of it, you've already let go of this matter?" Li Wen's voice was indifferent. "You're my younger sister. You can be sad, but you can't go overboard." Ning Shu grunted and suddenly understood. Li Wen was the emperor. How could he allow his younger sister to be so heartbroken over a subject and damage the dignity of the imperial family? He was afraid that when the original owner was heartbroken over Duan Xinghui, he had already lost Li Wen's favor and patience, especially hurting his body. Then Duan Xinghui came back. The actions of the original owner made Duan Xinghui completely hate her. Such sentiments disappointed Li Wen. Ning Shu was frightened and alarmed. Looking into Li Wen's deep eyes, she lowered her head and said, "Chen Mei is a princess of the great Yong dynasty. Duan Xinghui is no more than a subject. Chen Mei has thought things through. This person has already passed away. I absolutely cannot disappoint imperial brother." Li Wen nodded his head. Seeing that there was only one maid by her side, he asked, "Why is there only one person by your side?" Truthfully speaking, Li Wen, the emperor, had treated the original owner of the body quite well. Li Wen had not crossed Li Wen's bottom line. Li Wen was willing to give her face. For example, right now, he had brought a large number of women from his harem to escort her out of the palace. Thinking of this, Ning Shu had a good impression of Li Wen. Love was not the only thing in life. However, there were some people who would give up everything for love, like moths to a flame. Ning Shu and Li Wen revealed a sincere smile and said, "There was a servant girl who was unwilling to leave the palace. Chen Mei allowed her to remain in the palace." Seeing the smile on Ning Shu's face, Li Wen was first startled. His eyes were deep. Afterwards, he indifferently said, "Such a disloyal servant. It's fine to not have her." Miao Qing had been labeled as disloyal. Would she still be able to become Li Wen's consort? Ning Shu was very happy at her misfortune. Miao Qing was a servant girl who lived off of him and was a traitor. By becoming Li Wen's consort, she had caused no small amount of trouble for the original owner of the body. "Jiahui, you must return to the palace to see your sister-in-law." The empress extended her hand and pulled on Ning Shu's hand as she spoke, sizing her up in passing. Today, Jiahui was wearing a shoe brocade robe with golden silk buttons and a peony pattern. Her hair was combed into a complicated and graceful bun with a hairpin in the bun. She wore embroidered shoes inlaid with pearls on her feet. It made her look very imposing. Her face was rosy, like a consort from the ninth heaven, suppressing the imposing manner of the empress. Ning Shu had dressed like this for a reason. She wanted people to know that she did not leave the palace with her tail between her legs. Otherwise, when Duan Xinghue returned, he would say that she was too sad and went to the Princess Fu to recover. The Empress's hand that pulled on Ning Shu's hand tightened. A trace of jealousy quickly flashed through her eyes. She had thought that Duan Xinghue's death would make Jiahui hover between life and death. She had not thought that she would recover so quickly. The Empress used Jiahui, but at the same time, like the women in the harem, she was jealous that Jiahui could receive special treatment from Li Wen. Just like now, with so many people sending Jiahui out of the palace, which princess could have such glory? Even Li Wen's own daughter might not have such glory. Ning Shu pulled out his hand and exchanged a few words with the Empress before bowing to Li Wen. Chen Mei has left the palace. Imperial brother, please take care of your health. Li Wen made a sound of acknowledgement. Let's go. With the help of Yuan Dong, Ning Shu boarded the jade-covered 8-treasure carriage. There were gilded bells hanging from the 4 corners of the carriage. When the wind blew, there was a tinkling sound. The 2 strong and fat horses were snorting and stomping their hooves in place. Ning Shu sat on the soft couch in the carriage and sighed in relief. They had finally left the palace. He closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. Yuan Dong saw her master like this and did not dare to speak. She obediently bowed and stood at the side. She could feel that since her master had woken up, he had become more distant from her and Miao Qing. His eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Yuan Dong felt that her most secret thoughts had been seen through by her master and there was nowhere to hide. The inside of the carriage became very quiet. The crisp sound of the gilded bells echoed in their ears and mixed with the rhythmic sound of the horses' hooves. The carriage swayed gently. It was so comfortable that it made one want to sleep. After swaying like this, Ning Shu really did fall asleep. After an unknown amount of time, Yuan Dong gently nudged Ning Shu. Ning Shu opened his eyes. Yuan Dong explained, "Princess, we've arrived at the Princess Fu." Ning Shu made a sound of acknowledgement and got off the carriage. He looked at the vermilion door and saw the 3 words Princess Fu written in flamboyant calligraphy on the door. This was the word that Li Wen had used when the Princess Fu was built. Golden spears and armored horses, grand and majestic. Just by looking at this word, there was a kind of fierce aura. It was completely different from the cold and reserved Li Wen. Just by looking at this word, one could tell that Li Wen was full of ambition. It was estimated that he would become a great emperor. Ning Shu suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Since Li Wen was an emperor who had the world in his heart, then to curry favor with Li Wen, one must not curry favor with Li Wen himself, but with the people of the world. She was really bitter. She originally thought that this mission was simple. But now, it seemed that it was not simple at all. Li Wen was the biggest boss that she had to conquer. Chapter 40. The layout of the princess's residence was very large. There were pavilions, buildings, glazed tiles, rockery, and flowing water. It was really very good. Ning Shu expressed that she was very comfortable. She felt that she was here for a vacation and felt very good. Box after box of things were carried into the princess's residence. Although there was no master living in the princess's residence, it was clean and tidy. There were rows of servants standing in neat rows to welcome the master. Ning Shu went to her room. Looking at the layout of the room, she felt very good. And in the future, this would be her home. It was more comfortable than living in the palace. She did not have to face the profound Emperor Li Wen. Yuan Dong looked at the decoration and layout of the room. She felt that it was unfair for Ning Shu. "Princess, this room is so small. It can't be compared to the palace." Ning Shu looked at her indifferently and said, "This was given to me by my brother. As long as it is given by my brother, I will like it." Yuan Dong's face paled. Her words were disgraceful. Yuan Dong hurriedly said, "Yes, yes. The emperor's grace is vast." Ning Shu prepared to look at the original owner's property. There were box after box. When she came to the storeroom, she saw the guards moving boxes in. Yuan Dong immediately opened the box for Ning Shu to look. The box was full of books. Ning Shu picked up a book and looked at it casually. He did not feel anything. It was all traditional Chinese characters. He read it vertically from left to right. It was really tiring. He did not know if there were orphanages in ancient times that would donate these books and take up space in the storeroom. From the original owner's memories, he knew that the original owner did not like to read. Even if he read, it was love stories about scholars and beauties. In short, he did not read a single book. Ning Shu was not interested in these books. He casually flipped through them. When he reached the bottom of the box, he saw a yellowed book. There was also a musty smell. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat. This should be a good thing at the bottom of the chest. The original owner should have valued this book very much. Ning Shu excitedly took it out and shook it, bringing out a cloud of dust. Yuan Dong coughed twice. He looked at Ning Shu's bright eyes and asked, "Princess, what's wrong?" Ning Shu looked at the title of the book. There were only 4 words: Peerless Martial Arts. Ning Shu, what the fuck? Could he be any funnier? No wonder the original owner put the book at the bottom of the box and ignored it. The book had been eaten by worms and was very wet. Flipping it open, there really were some little people practicing martial arts while meditating. It looked like there really was such a thing. Where did this book come from? Ning Shu asked Yuan Dong as he flipped through the book. Yuan Dong came over to take a look. After a while, he seemed to remember something and said, "This was sent by the Princess Fief official in Jinyang several years ago. He heard that the princess liked to read, so he sent it over." Ning Shu shook the book, raising a cloud of dust. Although the name was a bit funny, Ning Shu was very interested in things that could improve his strength. Coming out of the storeroom, Ning Shu saw that the surroundings were heavily guarded. There were guards every 10 steps. These guards were all from the palace and were given to him by Li Wen. To be honest, Li Wen was very good to the original owner of the body. It was just that the original owner was immersed in his own sorrow and couldn't see anything. There were many meaningful things in the world for the country. There was no need to be so sentimental. Ning Shu took off his shoes and climbed onto the bed. He put the book in front of him and meditated like the book. Ning Shu felt that he was very stupid. He just randomly picked a book and followed the movements in it. What if he went crazy? For some reason, Ning Shu felt that this book should be real. Ning Shu took a deep breath and was about to meditate when he suddenly heard the system's voice. Ever since he came to this world, the system had never made a sound. Even though its voice was mechanical and cold, Ning Shu felt a sense of familiarity. Ning Shu was speechless to feel familiarity with a system that didn't have any thoughts or feelings. Ding! Discovered a martial arts secret book. Do you want to exchange it? The system's voice suddenly came out, startling Ning Shu, who was meditating. If I exchange it, can I still practice the secret book? Ning Shu asked. Yes. Then let's exchange it. Ning Shu exchanged the secret book, but he only got 100 points. How could there be so few points? Ning Shu. However, with the system's verification, Ning Shu knew that the secret book was real. He was relieved and didn't need to worry about going crazy. Ning Shu sat on the bed, emptied his mind, and followed the contents of the book. Then meditated all night. Ning Shu felt that it was useless. He didn't feel anything at all. He just didn't sleep all night. He wasn't tired or relaxed. Yuan Dong came in to serve Ning Shu. Ning Shu soaked his hands in hot water, and then Yuan Dong dried his hands with a handkerchief. Ning Shu thought in his heart. Soon, Duan Xinghui should be back in area. The real battle was about to begin. Before that, Ning Shu wanted to solve the matter of the political marriage. He had to let Li Wen see her value. How to solve Ning Shu's problem, he had no idea at all. At breakfast, Ning Shu ate 3 bowls of porridge and 5 sesame rolls, but she was only half full. What was going on? When did her appetite become so big? Yuan Dong next to her was also surprised and advised, "Princess, I know you are in a bad mood, but you really can't eat too much." She really didn't turn her grief into appetite. She really didn't eat enough. Ning Shu didn't know why. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. He quickly ate 3 steamed buns. Under Yuan Dong's convulsive expression, he ate 2 more sesame rolls. Only then did Ning Shu feel that she was full. Could it be that the side effect of practicing the peerless martial arts was to become a big eater? The picture was so beautiful that Ning Shu didn't dare to imagine. After eating breakfast, Ning Shu returned to her room and began to meditate on her bed. Ning Shu's temperament had a hint of stubbornness. She was determined to learn this peerless martial art. Then at lunch, Ning Shu ate 5 bowls of rice and swept away all the dishes on the table. Ning Shu was really sure that her body was changing. The body needed a lot of energy. In ancient times, there was a rumor that a martial artist could eat a cow in one meal. It was because the body needed too much energy. Yuan Dong looked at the princess worriedly. Anyone who saw such a beautiful person eating so much would feel very bad. Moreover, where did all the food go? The princess was really too abnormal. Did the princess really give up on herself? Yuan Dong sighed. General Duan, where are you now? Yuan Dong felt that Duan Xinghui was not dead and would come back one day. Ning Shu put down the bowl and burped. Then, he could clearly feel his stomach squirming as it digested the food. Then, something warm circulated in his body. Although the points exchanged by the system were relatively small, Ning Shu was very happy. This secret book was really useful. Chapter 41. After obtaining the peerless martial art, Ning Shu began to practice martial arts without sleep or food. Forgetting food was impossible. She ate too much every day. She couldn't forget even if she wanted to. Every time Ning Shu ate, Yuan Dong would look at her with a conflicted expression. Every time the princess ate, her stomach would bulge. Then, after 4 hours, her stomach would disappear. It was a shocking sight. Yuan Dong wanted to persuade the princess, but every time she met the princess's gaze, she felt inexplicably guilty. It was as if the deepest thoughts in her heart had been cut open and exposed under the sun. Yuan Dong was too lazy to care. Anyway, the princess was ruining her body. Then, there were strange rumors in the princess's residence. They said that the princess was so sad that she went crazy. She didn't leave the house all day and ate a lot. They said that Princess Jiahui had become a big fatty. Even Li Wen in the palace heard the news. He summoned Ning Shu to the palace. When he saw that Ning Shu didn't become a big fatty, he actually let out a long sigh of relief. Ning Shu didn't care about these rumors. Seeing Li Wen looking at him without speaking, Ning Shu's heart beat wildly. He asked, "Brother, do you have any orders for me?" Li Wen said indifferently, "How is your stay in the princess's residence?" "Very good. The princess's residence has a beautiful environment. It's suitable for retirement," Ning Shu said with some flattery. "I heard that you eat a lot now?" Li Wen's tone was indifferent. He looked at Ning Shu up and down. "Overeating is not good for your body. Or are you still unable to forget Duan Xinghui?" Ning Shu quickly waved his hand. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to express his intentions. He was afraid that Li Wen would misunderstand that he was still interested in Duan Xinghui. "Brother, I recently obtained a peerless martial art. I'm practicing martial arts. People who practice martial arts eat a lot." Li Wen's face revealed a surprised expression. This was the first time Ning Shu saw Li Wen's face reveal such an expression. "As long as you're happy," Li Wen said indifferently. Obviously, he didn't believe that Ning Shu was practicing some peerless martial art. "It's true, Imperial brother. Chen Mei really obtained a peerless martial art." Ning Shu quickly took out the secret martial art book and placed it in front of Li Wen. Li Wen lowered his head and looked at the words peerless martial arts. His eyes stared blankly. Ning Shu said, "You can keep this kind of thing. Imperial brother, why don't you practice it too? This thing is really useful. It can strengthen your body and prolong your life." Ning Shu strongly recommended to Li Wen. Ding. The player's secret book has been exchanged. You are not qualified to give it to others? The system's cold mechanical voice suddenly appeared. Ning Shu was shocked. This secret manual was no longer hers. Damn, Ning Shu could only grin at Li Wen and say, "Imperial brother, this secret manual is probably still dangerous. Let Chen Mei practice it first. If there is any danger, Chen Mei will bear it." Li Wen looked at Ning Shu with a smile that wasn't a smile and waved his hand at her. Ning Shu eagerly left the palace. Ning Shu fell into a frenzied practice mode. Everything else was pushed back. The current Ning Shu was no longer the big eater, but her body had entered a strange process. Now, Ning Shu's body was circulating a weak aura. This aura had a warm feeling. It wandered in her body and strengthened her body. Ning Shu felt that her body was filled with vigorous strength. Even her mind was unprecedentedly clear. Her mind was clear. She felt that the whole world was unprecedentedly bright. What a magical feeling! Ning Shu touched her arm. Although the flesh was still smooth and delicate, it was full of strength. Fortunately, it wasn't muscle. Ning Shu, who had achieved great success, was in high spirits. Then, she brought a group of guards to the Imperial Manor, which was the original owner's manor. The Imperial Manor was very big. There were a lot of orchards, land, and all kinds of plants. Ning Shu had already thought about it. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation. The word eat was placed at the top. He didn't know if this world had high-yield crops like sweet potatoes and potatoes. Moreover, they were very resistant to hunger. If there was a natural disaster, they could save lives. Ning Shu looked around the entire manor. He was very disappointed that he didn't see any of these things. He found the manor's steward and asked him. The steward also said that there was no such thing. AI, this is not scientific. There were traces of sweet potatoes in human history for 2,000 years. This world actually didn't have any sweet potatoes. Could it be that the people of this world hadn't discovered these things that could satisfy hunger? Ning Shu thought. She was obviously a little princess, but she had to farm. It felt like she was working hard. Ning Shu went into the forest alone to look for wild sweet potatoes and potatoes. The manor's forest was very gloomy and cold. After years of accumulation, a thick layer of leaves fell on the ground. There were also ants and insects crawling on it. Ning Shu used a branch to push aside the thorns and grass. At the same time, she carefully looked for sweet potato vines. The deeper she went into the mountains, the more dense the trees were. Moreover, they were very thick. She couldn't see the sky when she raised her head. The sky was completely covered. Moreover, the forest was filled with smoke. Ning Shu was a little afraid to go forward. She reckoned that the smoke was the poisonous gas fermented by the dead branches and leaves. For the whole day, Ning Shu wandered around the forest. When she was hungry, she got a rabbit and roasted it. What made Ning Shu happy was that her skills were really getting more and more agile. When she caught a rabbit, it was really effortless. After a simple meal, Ning Shu continued to wander. She didn't find anything, but she found a few small red wild peppers. She carefully dug one out. There was still soil on the roots. Ning Shu took the peppers back and personally planted them in the courtyard. Yuan Dong watched from the side and said anxiously, "Princess, put it down. Let this servant do it." In fact, Ning Shu didn't know much about farming. But in any case, she had lived in the era of the internet. Moreover, there were so many stewards and tenant farmers in the manor who knew how to farm. The next day, Ning Shu continued to wander deep in the forest. She didn't have much hope in her heart, but she was unwilling to give up. Why couldn't she see any wild sweet potatoes? This didn't make sense. After wandering for a long time, Ning Shu still couldn't find any. She took out some dry food and sat on a branch to eat. Sitting on the branch, she looked into the distance. Around her was a sea of trees, shrouded in white smoke. It felt very mysterious. Ning Shu was lost in thought. Suddenly, she felt a pain in her hand. Looking down, 2 small red dots appeared on her fingers. Moreover, the dry food in her hand was gone. It was gone. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat. What had bitten her? And she didn't even see what it was. Ning Shu hurriedly squeezed her fingers. She didn't know if there was poison. After squeezing for a while, the blood was bright red. There were no signs of poison. Damn, this place is too dangerous. I have to leave quickly. Perhaps the sweet potatoes in this world have been censored. Chapter 42. Ning Shu did not know what had bitten her. For a moment, she was afraid of this forest. She quickly shuttled through the forest, wanting to return to the manor. Ning Shu was somewhat uneasy. She clearly felt that something was watching her. Moreover, the gaze followed her like a shadow. Ning Shu had goosebumps all over her body. Fuck, could it be a ghost? Seeing a ghost in broad daylight? Or was it some kind of beast? Ning Shu turned her head and looked around. She did not see anything. She only heard the sound of birds in the forest. It was very mournful, making the whole forest seem a bit gloomy. Oh my God, it was too scary. Ning Shu ran all the way, but she could not get rid of that strange feeling. She did not know how long she had been running. Ning Shu was so tired that she could not straighten her arms. However, the hairs on her body were still standing. Ning Shu was incomparably annoyed. What was going on? If you have the ability, then show yourself. Why are you hiding? Even if you want to die, you have to let people die a painful death. Ning Shu simply sat on a tree branch and looked around. She did not see anything. What the hell was this? Fuck, did she really encounter a ghost? Ning Shu thought about what had bitten her before. There were 2 small teeth holes on her fingers. Her food was stolen. Could it be that something had stolen her food? Ning Shu silently took out a piece of chestnut cake from the bag. She concentrated on looking around to see if there was anything around her. Her nerves were very tense. Ning Shu only heard the sound of the grass rustling. Then, a gray shadow quickly rushed towards her. It was very fast. Ning Shu did not even see what it was. Then, the pastry in her hand was gone. Ning Shu rubbed her eyes and looked at her empty palm. She turned it over and over again. It was really gone. What the hell was it? Its speed was too fast. Ning Shu only saw an afterimage. However, since it wanted to eat, it should not be a ghost. However, Ning Shu's heart was still filled with vigilance. Moreover, this little thing was so fast that it would be too easy to hurt her. Ning Shu felt that he had mastered a peerless martial art, and his speed was quite fast. But now, in front of this unknown thing, he was nothing but trash. Ning Shu felt that his self-esteem had been hurt. She had to retreat quickly. Since the people's livelihood plan was not going to work, she would take another path. Anyway, she had military strength now, so she might as well go to war. Ning Shu ran as fast as he could while thinking. But your sister, when the hell are you going to follow me? Ning Shu's heart was like a grass mud horse, and this time, his gaze on her was much more fervent, and she kept following him. Without a second thought, Ning Shu untied the bag of dried food from his waist and threw it behind him. Then, Ning Shu heard a squeaking sound. It sounded a little like a mouse and a little like a fox. Anyway, he couldn't figure out what it was. Ning Shu stepped on the trunk and climbed up the tree. Lying on the branch, he looked at the bag of dried food. He saw a furry, gray thing that was only the size of a fist crawling towards the bag of dried food. It was a man's fist-sized furball, and he couldn't see its eyes or nose. This little thing crawled into the bag of dried food, and probably didn't know how to get out. With a few slashing sounds, it tore the bag into pieces. Ning Shu's hair stood on end when she saw this. These claws were too powerful. She must have grown hair on her guts just now to put the snacks in her hand to seduce it. She was really grateful that it showed mercy to her hand. The dried food was quickly eaten by the little thing. It was obviously such a small thing, but it could eat so much. It seemed that it was some kind of strange creature. Ning Shu didn't even think about it and quickly wanted to escape. This little thing was obviously not to be trifled with. Ning Shu was just about to run when she saw that the little thing was actually looking at her. Moreover, it stood upright. It still looked like a furry ball. Ning Shu expressed that she really liked furry things, but this little thing was not a stuffed toy. You don't have to follow me anymore. I've already given you everything I have. Ning Shu jumped down from the tree and felt all over her body to show that she wasn't lying. The little gray ball squeaked twice, and then in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Ning Shu. It straightened its body and revealed its sharp claws. It was only the size of a man's fist. In fact, its claws were also very small, but the claws were very dark and exuded a kind of black luster. Ning Shu was so scared that she was sweating. Her face spasmed as she smiled at the little thing. I really don't have anything. The little gray ball's small black bean-like eyes looked at Ning Shu. Its black eyes were shining. Ning Shu was speechless. What was the situation now? She was trapped by an unknown thing. Help! Ning Shu and the little thing looked at each other. The little gray ball squeaked twice at Ning Shu. Ning Shu, I really don't understand what you're trying to say, dear. Ning Shu thought for a moment. Seeing that the little thing liked pastries, she said, how about you let me go? I'll go get you some pastries. Ning Shu felt like she was going crazy. She was trying to bargain with an animal. It was simply ridiculous. The little gray ball looked at Ning Shu. Then, slowly, it grabbed Ning Shu's skirt and slowly climbed up until it reached Ning Shu's shoulder. Then, as if it was tired, it sat down on Ning Shu's shoulder. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and turned to look at the little thing. Did it want to go with him? Sigh, I'll just treat it as a pet. Ning Shu quickly ran back to the manor. Oh my god, his heart still couldn't calm down. Back at the manor, Ning Shu immediately asked Yuan Dong to bring over all kinds of pastries for the little gray ball to eat to its heart's content. Yuan Dong was surprised when she saw the little gray ball. Then she saw that the little gray ball ate the pastries very quickly. In a short while, several plates of pastries were gone. Yuan Dong's jaw dropped to the ground. She couldn't help but ask, "Princess, what is this thing?" She didn't know what the hell it was either. Ning Shu sighed. She hadn't found any wild sweet potatoes, but she had found a glutton that didn't know what kind of species the little gray ball was. Oh my god, why was it so difficult for her to win over Emperor Li Wen? Ning Shu looked bitterly at the little gray ball that couldn't move on the table. It must have eaten too much. Ning Shu still didn't want to give up. He would wander around for another day tomorrow. If he couldn't find anything, then so be it. Perhaps the soil here wasn't suitable for potatoes to grow. But how was he going to deal with this little thing? Should he throw it out now that it couldn't move after eating too much? Squeak, 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 squeak. The little gray ball on the table squeaked. Ning Shu was surprised. This little guy was quite sensitive to people. Ning Shu smiled and gave the little gray ball to Li Wen. Chapter 43. Since then, this unknown creature had become a frequent visitor to the manor. After eating, it would run away. When it wanted to eat, it would jump on the table and squeak. Ning Shu guessed that this thing was a mutated rat. Looking at this thing, she felt that it was enough. It made her feel as if her balls were about to burst. Such a small thing actually ate so much. Unable to raise this little thing, Ning Shu went to the jungle to wander. If he still couldn't find it, he would have to go back home. Calculating the time, Duan Xinghui and area should be back. There was a mission to deal with this. Ning Shu sighed. Ning Shu used a branch to push aside the thorns and grass, and carefully searched. It was reasonable to say that things like sweet potatoes liked shade. Such a jungle should be the environment that sweet potatoes liked. Squeak, 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 squeak. The gray furball kept squeaking beside Ning Shu. Ning Shu bent down to look carefully, and said to the gray furball, "You are a native. Do you know that there is a thing called sweet potatoes?" Squeak. Not squeak, it's called sweet potatoes. Just when Ning Shu was about to give up, he finally saw a plant similar to the leaves of a sweet potato. Ning Shu carefully threw out the roots, and on the roots was a sweet potato the size of a carrot. The skin was bright red. Although it was not very big, Ning Shu was very excited, as if he could see that the mission was completed, and he was about to leave this world. In fact, Ning Shu still enjoyed this different life, but the longer he stayed in this world, the more his soul power would be consumed, and in the end, his soul would dissipate. Ning Shu put the sweet potato in his pocket, and used a branch to push it around. Since he found one, there should be others around. Sure enough, he found a lot of sweet potatoes scattered around. Ning Shu did not think of digging these things out, and only took some back to experiment. Squeak, squeak. The little gray ball followed Ning Shu out of the forest. After returning to the manor, Ning Shu immediately found the manor's steward and tenant farmers to open up a plot of land for experiments. Plants like sweet potatoes reproduce asexually. Even if the vines were cut with scissors and then planted in the soil, they could still survive. The premise was that the soil had to be soft. Ning Shu told the tenant farmer what little knowledge he had while he watched from the side. After the matter of the sweet potatoes was settled, Ning Shu stayed in the manor for a few days. Seeing that the sweet potatoes didn't show any signs of withering, he repeatedly reminded the steward to take good care of the land. Ning Shu was still a little worried in his heart. He directly used Li Wen's name and said, "This thing is what the emperor wants. You have to take good care of it. If you take good care of it, you will be rewarded." Hearing that it was for the emperor, the steward's face became much more solemn. Then Ning Shu brought a group of honor guards. What made Ning Shu more speechless was that the little gray ball actually followed him. Ning Shu didn't think that this little thing followed him because it liked him. It was completely because of the pastries. If it followed him, then so be it. It was just like a pet that could eat a lot. Ning Shu brought a group of people to the princess's mansion. When Ning Shu just arrived at the city gate, he met an army. The two sides were crowded at the city gate. The army had an awe-inspiring aura, suppressing the momentum of Ning Shu's side. Princess, princess, it's General Duan, it's General Duan. Yuan Dong saw the person at the front of the army and hurriedly shouted to Ning Shu, who was sitting in a gorgeous carriage. She looked very surprised and even her eyes were red. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. Sure enough, enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Ning Shu looked outside and met Duan Xinghui's eyes. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at Duan Xinghui, who was wearing armor. His eyes were bright, darker than the original owner's memories. The most ridiculous thing was that he had a woman in his arms. When marching to war, he actually rode with a woman on a horse. It was said that Duan Xinghui handled matters calmly, but Ning Shu didn't seem to be. Ning Shu sized up Arya, who was riding with Duan Xinghui. Arya had a healthy, weak complexion. Compared to the great Yong court's noblewomen's beauty standards, Arya couldn't be considered a beauty. Because of her complexion, her facial features lost some of their color. Any young lady from the capital's boudoir was prettier than Arya. No wonder the original owner of the body was unwilling to accept this. Although she was a country girl, she was a noble princess. Losing to such a girl was too frustrating. Duan Xinghui and Ning Shu's eyes met. Her gaze was incomparably cold. Duan Xinghui was the first to look away. Squeezing the horse's belly, he pulled on the reins and headed towards the sedan chair. Duan Xinghui cupped his hands and saluted Ning Shu. This General kowtows in salute to the princess. I wish the princess good health. Ning Shu sized up Duan Xinghui. He wasn't missing an arm or a leg. His face was a bit thinner. Ning Shu nodded. General Duan has returned. General Duan, you can go ahead and enter the palace to meet the emperor. Ning Shu's attitude towards Duan Xinghui was very cold and polite, carrying the arrogance of a member of the imperial family. Duan Xinghui's expression changed. He was depressed by Ning Shu's attitude. He had even thought of how to face the princess's questioning and quarreling, but the other party's attitude made all the various solutions he thought of along the way unable to be put to use. Now the other party didn't care about him at all. Duan Xinghui felt that his self-esteem was hurt. Duan Xinghui was a person with strong self-esteem. He was worshipped and admired wholeheartedly by Arya. But in front of Princess Jiahui, the difference between the monarch and the minister was always between them. Ning Shu just glanced at Arya. From a distance, Arya was not beautiful. She was a little dark. Looking closely, she was really dark. On the contrary, her almond-shaped eyes were very outstanding. Well, Duan Xinghui probably saw the beauty of Arya's soul. General Duan, aren't you going to enter the city? Ning Shu said to Duan Xinghui coldly. Facing the indifferent Princess Jiahui, Duan Xinghui felt uneasy in his heart. If it was a princess who made a fuss or even scolded him, Duan Xinghui would know. Such a Princess Jiahui really made people uneasy. She faced him as if he was a stranger. She didn't feel happy because he was alive. Such a princess posture really made Duan Xinghui unable to spit out a breath in his heart. He felt bad all over. Arya, who was in Duan Xinghui's arms, looked at Ning Shu curiously. Looking at the graceful and noble princess, her momentum made Arya feel a little inferior in her heart. And she was so beautiful. Arya couldn't find words to describe her beauty. She only felt that she was sitting in the gorgeous gilded carriage, which complemented the luxurious carriage. She was like a fairy who came down to earth. People didn't dare to look directly at her. Ning Shu saw Arya looking at him without any scruples. Her eyes were filled with amazement and a sense of inferiority. She was nervous. Her rough hands grasped the saddle tightly. How dare you? How dare you look directly at the royal family? Before Ning Shu could say anything, Yuan Dong shouted at her with a sharp tone. Yuan Dong's pretty face was full of dignity and vigor. After all, She was the princess's personal maidservant, so she had some vigor to her.